I'll start the meeting again. Let's call this meeting to order. If I could have a roll call, please.
Councilmember Cleveland?
Excuse me, can we turn the fan down a notch, because I don't think anybody will be able to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, it's nice.
How's the tennis going?
There.
I think that was low.
All right, good. As long as- Yeah, that was good.
Yes, that's better.
Yeah,
All right, Councilmember Cleveland?
I got him to go.
please.
Councilmember Saxenheimer?
Here.
Councilmember Smith? Councilmember Evans? Councilmember Hong?
Here.
Councilmember Nelson?
Present.
Councilmember Rosso?
Present.
Councilmember Campbell? Here. It's 5.
Thank you. We have a quorum. Did Councilwoman Smith reply?
Uh,
I saw her.
She was, but then it looks like she's dropped out of the Zoom here. I'm not sure.
Okay, well, I expect that she'll be back in shortly. All right.
I hear someone.
No,
That's me,
All
sorry.
right.
That's okay. I thought it was.
Let's start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Citizens' comments. Before you come up, starting next month, I'm going to ask anybody that has a citizen comment, we're going to have postcards here that you could write your name and your address, because sometimes we're getting names and addresses wrong, and that's the only reason for it. Certainly, everybody's welcome to come up and talk, but in the future, we'll have some postcards here, and you can give to our city clerk, Sarah, your name and address. But for right now, if there's any citizens' comments, please come to the podium, state your name and your address. Anyone?
Terry Gannon, 7620 Vesta. Okay, so first of all, I apologize. I sent you all an email like an hour ago. This is information on land trust, legislation for land trusts. I've been working with Kevin Windham and a bunch of other people to get legislation passed. So you know all these properties that you're dealing with that you can't clear title on, that'll take care of all of that. And so we're going to make a presentation to St. Louis County. We've got several council members that are all up for it. The legislation is also being prepared to present it to the state so that any other county throughout the state, if they want to set up their own land banks, they can. So the city, so I guess Kansas City and St. Louis City in Missouri, well, and St. Joseph, I guess, are the only three that actually have land banks or land trusts. So the one in the city is the LRA, which you've been hearing about all that in the news. But I guess on the federal level, and that's why I emailed this to you, they're also considering legislation that would set new guidelines for the Community Reinvestment Act. And we want to make sure that it includes support for land trusts and that they include support for communities of color, because that's really where you have the most foreclosures and properties that are, go to auction for unpaid taxes.
So repeat that last statement. Community reinvest.
Yeah, we're going to ask federal legislators to support land banks which affect communities of color when they write their new rules. So, we want to make sure that they know what they're talking about. So if so your federal legislators, that would be your House of Representatives, your senators, people who may or may not win tonight or up for election in November. So pay close attention to that. So rather than go into details, I sent you a whole big thing. This comes from the Center for Community Progress. Rachel Waterman, her parents live over in Belnor. She's also been working on these. These people are fabulous. Kevin Windham. So just take a little time, take a look at that, and just make yourself aware, because this is something that's coming down the pike, and I think it's gonna be really, really good. We've been working with Beyond Housing, is that lady here? On this too, so, anyway. So check your email.
Thank you.
Yeah, is that the email that you sent earlier?
Yeah, about an hour ago, yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Terry.
Anyone else? Hey, Chuck.
Hi. Chuck Rosso, 7216 Normandy Place. Just real quickly, I wanted to mention a couple things. Last time the police chief was talking about car thefts in the area. And I just wanted to mention that they said on the news, like either last night or this morning, there's nothing more effective, especially for these vehicles that are really prized, the Hyundais and the Kias. The vehicle wheel locks make those cars almost unstealable. So for members in the community, if you can get hold of them, because they're really hard to get right now, it'll protect your car even if you got a Kia or a Hyundai. Other point I just wanted to make was, I just wanted to comment real quickly. I've been reading for a few years this book called The Spirit of Leadership, Optimizing Creativity and Change in Organizations. It's by Robert Spitzer. He's a Jesuit priest. He's studied here at SLU. But he's a brilliant theorist on many things, but also on organizational leadership. And he mentioned, I thought I would just read a snippet of this because I think it's very helpful. He lists 3 qualities of inspired leadership. And one of them is having a vision. Well, I commend the council, the mayor, for working on the vision for our city. The second essential quality he lists is rational communication. Nothing resolves conflict better than an explanation of what is truly going on within an organization. And he lists, I won't read all this, but just a couple vehicles of communication that can help with this. One, obviously for the city council, the minutes. The minutes, can't be a verbatim account, but they need to be enough information that people that do not have an hour and a half, 2 hours to watch an entire Zoom meeting, they can get an idea, a good idea of what has happened at the meeting. He mentions also the value of status reports. This could be, we've been talking about the upcoming newsletter possibility. I know Ward 4's been doing a wonderful job of doing Ward 4 newsletters, but status reports, the good news and bad news. Members of the organization or community need to know why you have the goals you have and where you are in meeting them. Good news is easy to report. Bad news needs to be reported honestly and with a plan, and a plan needs to be developed to help fix problems. And I guess I'd just like to emphasize the importance of honesty in government, because we have examples of people like Lincoln, Truman, closer to our own time, people like Representative John Lewis, Martin Luther King, speaking truth to power. So being able to tell the truth to people is just important to having a functional government. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck.
Anyone else? Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, including the approval of the minutes and approval of liquor license renewals. Is there a motion on the floor to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion.
No, well, did you want, I make a motion to
You may also make your motion
table it, is that what?
to remove.
To remove the approval of July 12 city council meeting minutes.
There's a motion to remove Item A2, approval of July 21 work session meeting minutes from the agenda. Is there a
Isn't
second?
it the 12th?
That's it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's the 12th.
It's the July 12, I
Yeah.
apologize. There's a motion to remove the approval of the July 12 city council meeting minutes from the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second, sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Yolanda, is there another motion you'd like to make? Approval of the liquor license, you mentioned to me.
So we're moving IN.
So what about the 21st? You've got approval of the July 21st?
21st was a work session, and I think no one's objected to those
Okay.
minutes.
A motion to,
You mentioned you wanted to remove from the consent agenda item B.
B.
For the Courtyard Bar and Grill.
Yeah.
So there's a motion to remove item B for Courtyard Bar and Grill liquor license renewal from the consent agenda. Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Opposed.
I oppose.
Roll call vote, please.
So we're voting on.
Removing approval of the Courtyard Bar and Grill from the consent agenda.
Is there discussion?
Yeah.
Well, we can remove it from the consent agenda, and all it does is remove it from consent. There's still gonna be a motion to approve or not approve this liquor license.
Also, in our code, you don't have to have a vote to remove something from the consent agenda. You just have to have a motion and a second, and it's off the.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Okay, so, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
Motion.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
You're kidding me.
Ayes have it, motion
It's
carries.
the agenda.
Okay, removed from the consent agenda was approval of the July 12,
I'm thinking of the minutes.
2022 City Council meeting minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the July 12, 2022 City Council meeting minutes?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
No,
Any-
wait,
and-
wait a minute. Okay,
hang on,
I'm
hang
not
on.
following. I thought we just removed them from the agenda.
We moved them from the consent agenda. We're still gonna, now we can deal with them separately. The consent agenda is a list of items that everybody generally agrees with, so we pass it as one vote. Now, there's a couple items that everybody may not have agreement with, so we're gonna deal with them separately. So now there's a motion and a second to approve the July 12 meeting minutes. Any discussion or concerns?
I do have discussion and concern with, this was the updated one, and it's still not reflecting Terry Gannon's statement. This is the one I was sent through an
No,
email,
we're not doing that one, we're doing the 21st.
the 21st.
No, the 12th was the city council.
Right, the
meeting.
12th is he's
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about.
12th is
The,
what we're dealing with.
Terry had mentioned her support of not using the cell tower monies, and the reason why. And I think that was really significant comment that needs to be in the minutes for residents to read. At the bottom, Councilmember Debbie Rosso, gave an update on a grant application to improve Hosel Park. The Muni Parks Board for the grants wants specifics. I gave Sarah, from the notes, from that meeting, the 12th, which was on the recording, that could have been listened to, what the exact comments I made. And that needs to be updated. I don't feel it's best practice just to write Police Chief Mark Hall reports on activities in the police department. Our citizens, our residents have a right to be able to look at the minutes and not feel that they have to listen to 2.5-hour meetings, and get transparent reading of what happened at the meeting. The same with the Public Works Director. It says nothing. Just that he's reported on activities in the sense of what were the details. Mr. Ellis's report, there's no summary of the financial report. And that's just what I looked at, 30 minutes ago when I received this email of the update. So I just feel our citizens, our residents have a right to read details, to know what's going on, to not be expected. It doesn't even say here, go to the recorded meeting and listen to it. But, I mean, that's an hour and a half. People don't have an hour and a half. They may have 20 minutes to be able to look at the minutes, detail them, and get a sense of what we are doing for them and representing them. And so I think we, as a council, we need to represent the people. We need to give them the information in a written form that they could read and feel like they have been updated. Not that, activities in the public works, what's that? Activities in the police department, what's that? I don't find this best practice at all.
Thank you. Are there specific amendments you want to make to these minutes?
Well, it needs, I gave Sarah about the Parks Board and the details that we are requested to put in our minutes to be able to get grants. And I emailed that a month ago. I talked with Mayor Mark.
But what I'm asking at this point, are there specific, we have two choices here. We can amend the minutes and pass them, or we cannot pass them. Let's hear from the rest of the council.
I'd like to say something. I do agree with Councilman Russo. It seems that we're taking shortcuts on minutes. There's verbiage that need to be in there. I know it's time and it's consuming, but it's your job. And we need to get the information out to the residents and definitely to the council, because I do see shortcuts in the minutes. And I've been here for several years, and I guess the rest of the council that haven't been here, I guess you don't know the difference, I don't think. Not slighting you or anything, but we need to have the minutes correct, precise.
Anyone else?
I think the reported on activities in police department, like if we could get either the page that the police chief like talks about, like on the back, if you want to like have like see addendum 1.
Yeah, unfortunately, in this case, it was submitted after the agenda
Yeah,
went out.
and then like also with Chris, Mr. Harris, because it doesn't really say, he said a lot of good things. He talked about MoDOT, he talked about the pick and stick on Fridays and Mondays, he talked about citizens calling MoDOT and everything, and I think those things need to be included, because if I'm doing research about Normandy and I just look at this, it's not a true picture of like what went on for, when I looked at the minute or the recording, the time, it was 1 hour and 48 minutes. Now, of course, you don't want to put everything in it, but a brief synopsis of what the person said.
Thank you. David?
I would agree with that, having supplemental attachments perhaps that are already readily available and provided, public information, that I would go for that. Thank you for that.
Okay. And we've also talked about, in the future, having department head reports in writing prior to the meeting, and they may or may not be attached to the minutes, but they would be on the website as available material. Steve?
Yeah, I think they should be attached. If there's one like
Okay.
this, just attach them.
All right?
I agree.
Karen? All right, there's a motion.
Can I ask?
Yes,
something?
go ahead, please.
So, just talking about best practice, I think part of what's happening is we're trying to shift what I would argue is best practice. Minutes are recording what was done at the meeting legally, not necessarily what was said. They can be used as a vehicle to get information out to citizens, but generally that's not what they're designed to do. They're designed to record the actions and motions of the council. So we have a new city clerk, and she wrote that according to that principle, right? Which is what minutes should be. Now, if the council wishes to add more informational stuff, because if that's how we're gonna use the minutes, of course, are the council's minutes, and so we'll, we can add more detail about, report of officers, into the minutes. With that said, supplemental attachments, I certainly don't have an objection to it. I've never seen it done, going in kind of the way minutes get kept. Most minutes you don't look until it's 10 years later, and I guess it wouldn't be an issue to keep supplemental attachments, but I think it would be something interesting to say, but that's just something I wanted to add.
So in this case, hearing what I'm hearing, again, we've got two choices. Amending the current minutes, which may be a bit cumbersome, or not approving the minutes based on what I've heard and the desire to have more information in the minutes than what's there. So there's a motion to approve, there's a second. And we can pass them or not pass them, that's the purview of the council. There's a motion and a second to approve the July 12, 2022.
Oh, wait,
Go ahead.
because, Councilwoman Rosso, you gave a list, right? You said-
Right.
She gave her corrections.
If it's something that can be articulated as an amendment to the,
Can she say, like?
I think
make a motion
if she
to-
made a motion to add details about the park,
Can
the
that be-
report on the park board grant, and if the council trusts
It
that.
needs to
would that satisfy you to pass these
Well,
minutes?
it's not satisfying me, it's the Muni League's directive.
Right, I mean,
Right.
you know,
Or
yeah,
this.
what I'm saying, that's what you're looking for, so that the Muni League has what they need.
Well, I
for this.
thought that we wanted more information about Mr. Harris's report. We wanted more information about.
So what I'm asking is, this is what I'm asking, can that, what she gave, be put into the minutes, and then we approve it the way, with the corrections?
With the
And
corrections,
then going forward,
and then going forward,
Forward.
add additional detail.
make sure not to make this mistake again, is that?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Or we can, as we've done in the past, not passed it, it was brought to us the next meeting with the corrected information.
Russ, I think if you wanted to submit the minutes with the park grant application, we'll need to pass them tonight unless we submitted draft minutes, but, which we could do.
Oh, draft minutes, okay.
But, I mean,
which
So-
really
And
don't,
actually, we need them
Yeah,
for the grant to be turned in, don't we? We need the
and my
minutes.
understanding was that putting that in the minutes is a reflection of public involvement in the park grant process, right? That's what the
It's
points
the
that we're trying
reflection
to
of the work of the Parks Board they want to see,
well,
that
if
justifies the grant.
I could, if you would make a motion to amend the minutes to include the detail presented to our city clerk, and you could read those aloud if we need to do that, then we could pass these minutes with that information included.
That'll be part of my report to get ready to
Yes.
vote for the grant. So
Correct.
if people are satisfied with that from now on there'll be more details, I'm
Yes.
okay with that.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, would you be interested in making a motion to amend the minutes to include details of the Parks Board meeting?
Yes. I make a motion to include the details needed for the Park Board grant to be approved.
Is there a second to the
A
motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve the July 12, 2022 City Council meeting minutes as amended?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries.
Hey, Mayor, before we go on, I think Lawanda's,
Yeah, I did see Lawanda was on. I was gonna,
Why don't we see her on the,
well, she's coming in and out, it looks like, and she's trying.
if she's voting, she's got to show her face.
yeah, she was,
her face, it's actually
Oh,
on.
it's
If
there,
she speaks,
okay.
she'll show up on that screen.
Okay.
Like,
I'm on. I got off work.
I hear All right, good enough. Well, we saw you, thank you.
how you doing, Lawanda? How are you?
Okay.
Good.
There's an additional item removed from the consent agenda which has to be addressed, and that's the Courtyard Bar and Grill liquor license renewal. Is there a motion to approve the Courtyard Bar and Grill liquor license renewal?
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion, is there a second?
I second that one.
We have a second. Any comment, discussion,
So,
concerns?
Yeah.
I have some concerns. So I think like, before we talk about this, we need to talk about a before and after examination of not only like what's happened in the last year, but also like our own code. So I am completely in favor of free enterprise and entrepreneurship. I love it, capitalism. I want to make money just like everybody else. But I'm also in favor of accountability and fairness in our community. And I don't want it to seem as though this is something, I don't want to beat a dead horse. However, I have had citizens come to me, and unfortunately it's a voting day and a lot of them couldn't show up, but the people that live nearest the bar and grill have also expressed still concern about things that are going on as far as the trash, the barbecue pit that was there, it was removed, then it was placed back, about whether or not, and me doing my research, I also have questions about our own code and if we're following our code. And this also goes back to a discussion of our business license, which is a discussion that I wanted to have on the 21st, but we didn't get to it, in which there is an ordinance, which is 600.06, that says you have to get permission for if a establishment wants a liquor license, any property owner that's within 200 feet of that establishment needs to get permission. And so that wasn't done in this case. The other thing we have is another ordinance that says that if it's in violation of parking or zoning codes, we can revoke that license if we feel like it's not conducive to the environment. And that's 600.70, I believe. So my question is, like, where do we go when it comes to rectifying, like, us being a council, the citizens that are there, and also the business owners that are there? I feel like it's great to have establishments in your community. I think it's great that they're seen. I don't necessarily want to hear it and everything, especially like in certain hours of the night and everything. And I can't say for the last year that I have gotten no complaints about what's going on there, is what I'm saying. So like, and I don't want it to appear as that like I am trying to stop somebody's bag or trying to stop them. That is not the case. The only thing that I'm saying is, as a council, have we done our due diligence in making sure that our residents feel safe? And they talk to me about waking up in the morning and seeing more damage, more trash, and things like that. Has it gotten better? Yes. Is it perfect? No. You know, so like, what do we do as a council is my question.
So I have a question. Over the last year, you stated that things have gotten better. And what's the issues that happened over the last year that was?
The issue is still fighting. There still have been calls. I've gotten calls, loud music. I've gotten calls like the next day, trash. Clear bottles, like there's a bench out in front and clear bottles that, now I can't say what's in it. I'm not going to pick it up and smell it or whatever. But the fact that there's a clear, not a clear bottle, but a clear cup sitting outside of a bar the next morning doesn't to me indicate that somebody was just maybe having water or whatever. Then you see empty beer cans, there's still trash on the parking lot on certain days.
See loitering
In front at night. And still the parking is like, I just don't think that this was given with the best practice in mind. I don't think it was just like, we're just gonna do it. And that's one of the things that I really want to talk about as a council. Like, I feel like it's okay to give someone a business license, but it has to be within certain parameters. We have these parameters about parking and zoning and all these things for a reason. But if we're not following our own rules, then what's the point of having the rules? if you don't follow your own rules, you know? So,
So you mentioned business license. What's up for discussion, liquor license?
this is the liquor license that's up for discussion. But I'm just saying, overall, I think that it wasn't properly done, and I'm trying to figure out how do we rectify this and everything. Like, for instance, like I said, the barbecue pit. The barbecue pit, I know, was outside. It was taken down because it got cited, and then it was put back up for the holiday, for Memorial Day and 4th of July. So then it's like, well, what do you do when you follow the rule and you don't follow the rule? When a person follows the rule and then they don't follow it? Like, what do we do as a council?
That was something that we needed to go to in regards to, ordinances. What are they? How are they followed? This is the liquor license, but if we're not gonna follow them, there was on the news, Elliot Davis on Sunday. So they talked about, there was a Democrat and a Republican, and they were saying, well, if you don't cite speeding, you don't cite these little things, criminal activity goes up. And this is an example. We've got ordinances, we don't follow them. People think they can get away with things. It escalates to speeding, it escalates to other criminal activity, and then we wonder why.
And I do, in all fairness, I live 3 houses from the bar. And
Is she talking?
Rwanda? No. I live 3 houses from the bar. There's a lot that I don't hear, but there are homes that are closer and a lot of things that they do hear. So they hear shots. And I think like when you give a picture of like what you want for your community, and we have this mission and vision statement about what we want in this corridor that we want, then we need to hold our businesses to the same standard. Because the other thing is too, I don't want to beat a dead horse. But we know already that this was a hot button topic last year. And there are businesses in that area that have specific concerns. And there were citizens that had specific concerns. So when I saw this agenda, there was a flood. It was very busy. There wasn't a lot of time to tell people. Like, it kind of was just like, I looked at it and I saw it and I was like, oh, so it's here. Like, it's that time again, But I really didn't have, it's like, I think that they need to have a voice and they need to have a say, also. Now, do I want everybody to come up here? No, I don't want that. But what I want to do is I want accountability and I want fairness. And I think that we need that for our community. And we need to show people you just can't come in here and do whatever you want.
Thank you. Let's hear from the rest of the council.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
For those that have lived in the area when it was the old, because that location has been a club, a tavern for like many years. What was the difference then versus now? I guess my thing is this, I do remember then that there was a lot of people that used to stand outside that club and drink. I guess what's the difference versus what they were doing then versus now? That is such a huge, it's an issue now.
Are you asking me or are you asking the council?
I guess for those that have lived in that area, that have been familiar with the club that has been there prior to the Bar and Grill, when it was the old Cougars, previous clubs before.
Well, I was there when it was the old Cougars, so I bought my house in 2018, and Cougars was there. There wasn't any shooting. I will tell you that the circle was there. The circle was not getting destroyed.
Noise level.
There wasn't a high noise level. I never had a problem when it was Cougars. Maybe because the crowd was older. Maybe because they had restrictions. Maybe because, everybody knew the rules that went to. I don't know. But what I do know is that, like I said, when you have a line, if I have a timeline, I'm going to do a before and an after picture. Well, before, like you said, there have been bars there before. There have been establishments there before. But before, was I looking at all of these things with the trash and no, I didn't have, that wasn't the problem in our neighborhood. And then after, and you don't have to take my word for it, we can ask the police.
So let's go ahead and hear from the rest of the council.
Okay,
Yeah.
Give everybody a chance to opine here.
Go ahead.
Just like the one that said, the club's been there, established there as a commercial club for years. There's trash all over the place, everywhere. The highways, the deals down the street on the corner of Lucas and Hunt. I've gone down there and talked to that owner several times about the trash, where the school board can look out there, one of them see trash on Lucas and Hunt, around the corner on National Bridge. Trash is everywhere, you know? And as far as gunshots, I hear them, and I live on the corner court. I hear them all over. Gunshots you're gonna hear, you know? Now, coming out of the bar, OK Corral, shooting guns, I don't think it's that serious, you know? But I know you live around the corner. I live several blocks away. So the thing is it's a business, and we do want to have businesses in our city, and definitely African-American ladies that grew up in our neighborhood. We want to support them, and it's a process, you know. And things were kind of rough a year or so ago. They've gotten better, you know. As far as I've seen barbecue pits in front of people's yards, all over. You know, so, you know, that issue is something, you put it there, and you're not, in our city, you're not supposed to have barbecue pits in the front at all. You know, unless there's, I guess, a gathering you want to have it, and then you put it in the back, you know. But the thing is I'm going to support the grill, and I think it's getting better, and we need to have businesses in our city, and especially young African-American ladies. I'm really for that. You know, and if she needs help from our city council, our police department, to rid out the knuckleheads, because they're gonna come, you know, because it is a business, you know, and if she has to come up on her age limit, you know, and it's gotten better, just like Tony said earlier, you know, and even you said, you know. So I'm for the bar being there, and give them the opportunity to get better, because nobody's perfect.
Thank you, Rick.
Okay.
Mr. Hall?
I am also not against commerce or taxing of said commerce, but if we have metrics that support a drastic difference in activity that is not conducive to public safety, then we should usually side with the data that we are given. So as our police has provided us ample evidence over a sustained period of time, they are not isolated incidents. I typically would lend myself to agreeing with whatever the evidence supports.
Excuse me.
Thank you. Steve?
I think this is from two different cultures. Cougars was an older crowd. This young lady has brought in the younger crowd predominantly. I am all for the young people coming in and running businesses. Is there a way that we could possibly approve this with the contingency it's got to meet certain requirements?
I will say that question for our city
To address
attorney.
her concerns?
Yep.
So
Let me present that with Mr. Brayman.
a conditional license.
Right, well,
Does that make sense?
Mr.
Yeah, that
Brayman,
makes sense.
if someone were to make a motion to pass with any conditions, say a closing time or conditional, can you give us some advice on that?
Looking through the code, and I was looking through the code earlier today, and I have not, I haven't seen explicit authority allowing special conditions to be placed on the license itself. So at this point, I want to say no.
Thank you.
But I
All right.
could change
No,
that.
that answers the question, unless there's other information that
Yeah.
you
No, I
come
was-
across later.
I was just trying to
Yeah, it was, yeah.
keep everything going and
Right.
classify
The
everyone.
the other option is I mean, you can always hold a revocation hearing if there's an egregious incident that happens. And that can be done at any point in the liquor licenses. It can be done any month of the year. This is just, are we approving it for the next year?
Right, the reason why I said that is that way it's just not cut and dry, either we're gonna approve it or not approve it.
Right.
This would help them.
Right. Well,
And give them the
and that
chance.
doesn't appear to be an option for us.
Right.
Yes.
No, I understand.
So it either has to be
Thank
one or the other.
It sounds like that's the case.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to the business being there, but there should be something, if they're out of ordinance with whatever they're doing there should be consequences to them.
All right, we have a motion.
I like Sam's idea of that, what was that, Sam, that you just mentioned? Revocation.
At any point in time, we can hold a revocation hearing, and it would be a public hearing. And so if we prove it now, something bad happens a month from now, we can just start that process.
So to kind of elaborate on that, under the code, there is both a suspension and a revocation procedure.
Okay.
It's the same procedure, it just depends on whether the council feels whatever has happened is egregious enough to warrant a full revocation versus a temporary suspension. And section 600-150B lays out specific grounds for suspension or revocation. I mean, that can be anything from violating any of the provisions of the city code, failing to keep an orderly place or house, things like that. I mean, it allows kind of broad flexibility to the council to make sure that the bar is operating within the bounds of what is acceptable. And
So if something happens, we can always revisit it next month. Right?
that is correct.
Yeah.
Well, and the only difference is, in the renewal, the city council, and correct me if I'm wrong, does not really have to have grounds. But,
Right, so here's, if there's a hearing, if the council decides that they want to issue this license and then a month, 2 months, however long, there's an incident and the council decides they want to either suspend or revoke the license. At that point, a license has been issued, the licensee has a property interest in the license, and so due process is required in order to revoke or suspend that license. And due process just means we go through the hearing, there's notice, so on and so forth. Under 600-040B, the code specifically states that liquor licenses expire on July 31st. So once a license expires, you no longer have a property interest in it, right? So you don't have those same due process requirements when it comes to the question of renewing a license as opposed to revoking a license. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Is there any follow-up questions on
So
that?
Andy, so what you're saying is she's already got her license this year?
No, that's what's being considered.
Yeah, it expired.
It's, you can almost just consider it like I mean, I know we're using the word renewal, but the way I read the code, it's basically a new license, right? Because the old license has expired.
Right.
And that's what they do, they expire
Can you
annually.
address 600.060 that talks about getting property owners' approval, which is in 200 feet of the bar? How does that work?
Let me review that very quickly. I do know what you're talking about, and
Since you're saying that it's
kind of a word
expired,
salad, so.
if it's expired, and technically you're getting a new license.
Excellent point.
That is a way to think about it, sure. Although again, there are different procedures for the initial application versus the renewal, right? It's almost like, think of it like an expedited procedure for the renewals. So, when I look at 600-060, and you have to read, any individual section in accordance with the entire code, so I think you really need to read it in accordance with 070. I think 060 applies to the initial application for the license, and that's where you would have the hearing with the property owners with the ability.
So that was my problem, that was my question with Sam about the code, because it says license and renewal, it does not separate the two in the title. And it also says the same thing in 600-0.70 when it talks about revoking if it is not conducive to the environment that it is in. So how do you separate the renewal part with the license part when it's all under the same heading?
Right, so there are certain, under the law, there are certain canons of construction when you are trying to read and interpret ordinances, statutes, any law. And one of those canons of construction is that when you're faced with something that appears, where there are inconsistencies in the code, you kind of have to just do your best to make it as consistent as possible with itself and with the entirety of the body of law that it is embedded in. And that is why, I think you have to read 060 and 070 together, and based on 070's specific
Section
carving
C.
out
Yeah.
of, in section B of the renewal application, procedure under the renewal application.
I was talking about C, section C for that one.
Of 070?
Yeah.
Right, and so under 070 is C, what you're talking about. That section of the code grants to the council discretion to consider whether or not this establishment is in keeping with the general character and the best interest of the locality.
Yeah, that's what
which
I'm
it is
speaking
in.
of.
Correct, but that is separate than the section that you cited earlier.
But that does not, what you're saying is, that particular code does not apply to a renewal? It only applies,
I think,
You know what I'm saying?
no, I see what you're saying. I think 600, I understand it's confusing because, and it could be worded better, because I do understand that the word renewal appears in 600-060. But the way I read the code in its entirety, I think that section applies only to the original application, and then renewals are governed under 070 B and C.
Also, I don't know,
which is the part that I'm talking about.
if we
Maybe I'm missing something, I'm sorry.
The part that I'm talking about is that the council has the right to revoke if they feel like the establishment is not conducive to the environment, and that's in 600.
Well, that's not the right to revoke, that's discretion whether or not to authorize, to issue the renewed license.
Yeah, but that's what I'm talking about.
Right, yeah.
We do
But
have
we're
that
talking about-
authority.
I think we're saying the same thing.
Okay.
Also, I'll note that, one, this would be a great thing to clear up with an ordinance at a future meeting. And then two,
Well, this is the business license part that I wanted to have the conversation.
and the other thing to note is for all the other renewals, and from my understanding, in the past, we have not had neighborhood hearings for run-of-the-mill renewals. If that was the case, we would have had to have a hearing for every liquor-based establishment, which would be a lot of work. Not that that's a problem, but if it's something that really isn't an issue.
I think this is what I think. I think that as a council, as a city, we have to do better with saying, this is a problem, you're being cited, you need to come and explain yourself, and this is what your consequence is. I don't think we do a very good job of having that happen. I don't know where the breakdown is coming, I don't know.
Well-
But I'm gonna put myself, I don't know what else to do. But I keep getting it from my constituents, so of course, I'm going to continue to say something. But as a council, I think if we want to have our business corridor be the best possible place, and yes, there is trash everywhere, but that doesn't mean you accept it. My kids dirty their room, but I'm not gonna accept it. So what I'm saying is, there are some exceptions that I'm just not going to take, I'm not going to allow. So I think we need to figure out how to handle that.
I think it's time to take this to a vote. We've heard from everybody. There's a motion to approve. There's a second. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Cleveland?
Yes.
Councilmember Saxenheimer?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Evans?
Yes.
Councilmember Hong?
Abstain.
Councilmember Nesson?
Yes.
Councilmember Rosso?
No.
Councilmember Campbell?
No.
The ayes have it, motion carries. Moving on. Item 5, appointments, I have none. Item 6, special presentation by Corey Dickens from Beyond Housing. Corey, are you with us?
I am here. Good evening. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I want to let Sam give you a little introduction as to why you're here and what we're talking about. Go ahead, please.
Sure.
We've invited Corey tonight to talk about the prospect of Beyond Housing purchasing some of the derelict houses that we own. They have 4 properties that they are interested in, and they have made an offer on 2 of the properties. They have offered around $15,000 for each. And then 2 of the properties they're asking for donations. Corey's here to answer any questions you may have. Just about the program that they use for the tenants that they will put into these houses. They do rent these houses out, and I'll let her talk more about the program, and you can ask her questions afterwards.
Thank you. Corey, if you would go ahead and explain what it is you do.
Sure. Thank you, Sam, for the introduction, and thank you, Sam and Mayor Beckham, for inviting me to come look at your properties. So I am the Senior Housing Director for Beyond Housing. I've been with the organization for over 11 years now. We are a nonprofit community development organization. Our main footprint that we really put our resources in is the Normandy School District. I don't know if any of you all are familiar with the 24-1 initiative, but that is really bringing together the 24 municipalities to create one vision in a small or much stronger school district. So I am within a rental housing portfolio, rental housing program. We have about 500 affordable housing units total. That's broken down to about 400 single family homes and another 95 senior apartments. We're mainly located in the Pagedale, Hillsdale, Pine Run areas. We do a lot of new construction development as well as acquisition rehab. What makes our rental program unique is that we're not only offering affordable housing, but we are also offering additional social services. Our main objective is to provide a really transformative, holistic service approach. We want to transition low to moderate income families to responsible homeowners. So we provide a lot of crisis intervention, budget credit counseling, housing stability services, and then also down payment assistance, community health workers, and youth education. So a very large range of services that are provided to our residents. Since the start of the pandemic, to kind of give you an idea of the way we really ensure that housing stability is that we have partnered over $2 million in rental and utility assistance to our residents that have been affected by COVID, so that they are able to remain stably housed and continue to work on their long-term goals. We really advanced our home ownership program within the rental housing in the start of 2020. It was actually the day before our office shut down for the pandemic. We decided we were going to kick off this home ownership expansion. And even with all the challenges that were thrown at our residents, they really remain resilient. And, our average home ownership rate is about 5 to 6 homeowners per year. But in that first year of 2020, we had 20 homeowners. So it really just shows that, you know, putting some more intensive case management and counseling and credit services and match down payment assistance, it really makes a difference in being able to transition renters to homeowners.
Thank you. I'm going to ask the council if they have any questions for Corey about this program. We've got 4 houses, and everybody read the resolution. There's 4 houses. We're talking about giving this program a try. But if there's any questions you have, please feel free.
I do have a question. So Corey, are these houses, if I understand right, are they rent to own?
Not really. So our homes, so kind of a little background on our acquisition rehab model. So it's not only, you know, revitalizing communities, but it's also increasing our affordable housing stock. When you look at market rate rents for a 3-bedroom home, you're looking at $800 to $1,200 in this area. To give you a reference of our rents, they're about $550 to $650 per month. And those are set aside for a certain income range, so that we can designate that housing to the families that really need it. We've kind of tried the lease to purchase option and it didn't really work out. Instead, we keep those homes, we rehab them, revitalize the community, keep them in our rental portfolio, and then use that home as kind of a stepping stone towards home ownership. We would be able to connect the resident to financial counseling and financial capability services, and then connect them to our homeownership department where they can get down payment assistance and purchase housing wherever they like. Down payment assistance, it's available in St. Louis City, St. Louis County, St. Charles County, and Jefferson County. So it really gives the resident the option to choose wherever they would like to live.
I have a question.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I am from Ward 1, and we currently have a lot of renters in Ward 1, and two of our major issues is paying the trash bill, because that is a health issue if they don't, and keeping their yards up, just plain old cutting the grass. We get complaints, my partner and I, we get complaints almost every day about this. Is there any way that could be written in somehow, that's a part of their deal with coming in to Normandy, that they would have at least have to pay their trash bill? You know?
Absolutely. So Beyond Housing actually keeps all trash service in our name to avoid the problem, and we build the service back to the resident. It is also in the resident case that they are responsible for maintaining their yard. We really want to encourage residents to treat their rental home as if it is their home. So when we turn that home over to the resident, we will go through a very long move-in inspection sheet. Shows, this fence line is clear. There is not a vine on that fence line. You can see through it, and that is your expectation on how you should maintain that. Grass should not be above, 5 inches. Our maintenance crew, we have about 12 in our maintenance crew, and they have an expectation of when they are in the home performing maintenance. If they see tall grass or housekeeping or any issues, they report that to our property management team. And then our property management team also does routine inspections on at least interior and then exterior, especially in the summer. We try to get by once a month.
Thank you.
And I'll add to that from a code enforcement's perspective. A lot of times when the renters don't cut their grass, the problem is we can't find the landlord. We know who the landlord is in this case, and they're responsible.
Yeah.
So
I'll give you my cell phone.
I have a question. I actually have two. So do you, a part of the agreement with these renters, do you all monitor them in regards to the upkeep of the property, ensuring that, although they are renting, they are in the neighborhoods, considering that you all will be pretty much tied to them, do you monitor them?
We do. So we have property management staff, maintenance staff, and even our housing resource specialists so we have our housing resource model. So we have a housing stability specialist that works with families that are in crisis, are behind on their rent or their utilities. We have an employment education specialist that works with unemployed, underemployed, or residents that are seeking to advance their education. And then we have a financial capability specialist that helps with credit and budget counseling. There is somebody that is in touch with residents all the time. They're working with a specialist. They have to engage at least once a month. They're working with their property manager, home inspections, and then maintenance is also keeping an eye on housekeeping and here in the home.
Oh, you mentioned that there's 4 homes now. So are we looking to possibly do more if these 4 homes end up being successful? Is that the overall plan?
Yeah, so the homes that we looked at, so when I kind of do my budget, my scope, and I'm able to offer on a home, I kind of look at the current market rate or appraisal of the house in its current condition, or what it would be if we were to make it habitable, and kind of back out the repairs that are needed to the home. We're looking for homes that need like your basic updates, maybe roof, new windows, gutters, maybe a new kitchen or bathroom. We're not looking for homes that need like extensive structural repairs or huge electrical plumbing updates, things that we can easily upgrade to make the home safe, sanitary for a new resident to move into. We also have lots of different funding partners. We have private investors, or if you're familiar with the St. Louis County, there's CDBG grants. We also have a Home Builders Association. So we're pretty reputable throughout the St. Louis area, and we have partners that want to also do community revitalization. So for an example, I've got a house and I have a $30,000 grant that I'm able to do some pretty good upgrades on the home and still kind of keep it around what the market rate value is. We don't want to have to, we're not able to put in more than what the home could actually sell for. We're not looking to make a profit. We're just really looking to break even on what the market value is.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Yes. This is Dickens. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, so I'm pretty familiar with the 24-1. So you have homes in Pagedale, Pine Line, and Wellston, right?
Pagedale, Pine Line, Hillsdale is where most of our homes are.
Yes, so you, what do you have, about at least 100 homes?
Oh, we have about 400 homes, and then 2 senior buildings. One's in Pagedale, it's Rosie Shields Manor. The other one is in Pine Lawn across the street from Barack Obama Elementary School.
Right, exactly, near your office, right?
Yep, yep.
Yeah, I think this is a great idea. So I'm for it, so I like it.
Appreciate your support.
Question for you, Corey. How can Beyond Housing help to stabilize rent prices across the region with this?
You know, that's a concern of ours as well. The need for affordable housing. It's just, there's low stock, there's low inventory. It's very hard for low to moderate income families to find housing. So what Beyond Housing, you know, our mission, our goal is to continue to increase our rental portfolio to provide more affordable options for those families.
Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. Let Debbie go next.
Go ahead.
What's your involvement with Section 8?
We do accept Section 8 vouchers, just as if they were a regular resident. They would receive the same services that any other resident receives in order for them to achieve their self-identified goals. Section 8 also has a homeownership program. It's called Bridge to Homeownership, and I have seen several residents that have Section 8 vouchers actually purchase a home even with their low fixed income. So it's a great program, whether you have a voucher or not.
Is the same supervision allowed with Section 8 involvement? Do you check, do you have a checklist, do you, we've had a home in our neighborhood that didn't seem really like they were having supervision. They were it's a Section 8 house, and there was a agreement with Beyond Housing, but there were some issues with the house and it being rented, and the follow-up with the care of the house. So it's a concern.
Yeah, I mean, Section 8, whether you have a Section 8 voucher or not, you receive the same services, you receive the same home visits, maintenance. There's also additional layers with Section 8, so it's not just Beyond Housing that is monitoring the home. You also have the Housing Authority, whether it's St. Louis City Housing Authority or Housing Authority of St. Louis County. They also do annual inspections, and their inspectors want to make sure that landlords are taking care of the home and it's habitable, and they will abate your rent if you're not living up to your agreement. So no difference of whether there's a Section 8 voucher or not.
Councilman Evans, you had another
Yeah, I
question?
have a question. Of course, when you get a tenant, they're always your best tenants, Corey, right? But once they move in, they become problem tenants. So how do you guys handle those type of tenants? Once you
We
get-
have a lease agreement. The lease agreement covers, everything from paying your rent on time, keeping your utilities in the game, maintaining your house and housekeeping. We have a very strict crime-free, drug-free housing policy. It does restrict firearms in the home. We're very serious about community safety and contributing to the community. So if there are any issues with our residents, we are able to address those and, refer to our lease agreement as a legal document.
Councilman Hong, did you have another question? All right. Anyone else? Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Yes, no problem. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
I will
Have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you, Corey. I'll note two things. We actually have 3 houses that are currently owned by Beyond Housing in the city of Normandy. I won't name the addresses, but Kirkland, Bermuda Court, and Santa Monica are the streets. And then they also own 1 empty lot, which they maintain. And then the only other thing to note is they are looking for quiet title on all of these, which we are in the process of finishing up on one, and we can get done pretty quickly on the others. And so there might be a slight delay if we pass the resolution now, but there should be no issue with passing the resolution now.
What were the other addresses, Sam? Kirkland and Bermuda Court?
Kirkland, Bermuda Court, and Santa Monica, and then they do own the empty lot on Normandy Place, one of the empty lots.
Oh,
on
that's
Normandy.
right. And they're gonna build on that, you're saying?
No, I'm not saying, but they do cut it.
Yeah.
Maybe one day they'll build, but from my understanding, right now the market's not favorable for new builds, so they're not participating.
So excuse me, Sam, so once we pass the resolution, we can add on homes anytime, right?
No. This is for the 4 specific
Just
homes.
before.
Yeah, and once we get the titles quieted,
And
the
see how
mayor
well-
can
see how
sign the
well we do.
paper and we'll get the check.
So those are 4 besides the ones you just listed?
The ones I just listed are ones they already own. So there was talk about, what is it like? There's 3 houses in Normandy, and I don't think they're problematic.
What's that?
I'm sorry?
What's our recourse if it, like Tony said, they're your best tenants until they're not, everything goes well until it doesn't. So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
just like any property, if there's a exterior maintenance thing that's violating the property code, our code enforcement officer can handle that. Usually where we run into trouble is when it's a landlord in California we don't have a phone number for. Beyond Housing I expect, will be very responsive and very easy to reach if their tenants.
And I do want to add that the houses we're talking about have been vacant and derelict for some time.
Yes, they do.
And for us not to move this direction on these 4 houses is another 4 houses that remain vacant and eyesores to the community. Debbie?
I guess the question on our block, there was a Section 8 / behind housing house. And there was an owner besides Beyond Housing. So, Yolanda and I, we didn't see follow-up, we didn't see a checklist expectation. Actually, the house was really not livable. You know what I'm talking about, Mayor Martin?
Was this one that was owned by Beyond Housing?
This is the one I told you about, the hole in the roof.
Right, was it owned by Beyond
That
Housing?
She said that they put her in the house and she told them that the landlord was not keeping up with the property. but nothing was done.
They may have provided assistance to get her housing, but I'm not confident that is one that was owned by Beyond
I think it
Housing.
was owned, it was a private owner, but the
Yeah.
private owner did not keep
Right.
up with the house. It was, and so now the home is actually being renovated, or a
Yeah,
lot.
okay.
Separate.
Yeah, so that was, yeah.
All right, has everyone's questions been answered to their satisfaction? Resolution of the city, I'm looking for a motion to approve a resolution of the city of Normandy, Missouri authorizing the sale of certain city-owned properties to Beyond Housing.
Motion.
Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you. Report of officers. Mayor, I have a couple. Sam and I met an appraiser here at City Hall and and at the old Sinclair station. These commercial appraisals are not cheap, but it will give us the answers we're looking for. Obviously, if our intention is to move across the street, we have to have a realistic idea of what this property's worth, and when it comes to crunch time, we'll be in a position to negotiate with good information. So we expect those appraisals to be in shortly, both on Sinclair. As soon as we get an appraisal on Sinclair, of course, it'll go back on the market, and we'll move forward with getting that sold. Gemma did their inspection across the street. You've all got a copy of that report. Overall, no big surprises. The HVAC plumbing, of course, is old, outdated, and needs replacement. We knew that going in. The one surprise was the roof that needs to be replaced. Not shocking, but it wasn't necessarily anticipated. But the good news overall,
I'm sorry, did you eat that? Oh, he's getting, okay, never mind.
the good news overall is that the building is in very good condition. It's a tank, okay? Solid foundation, it's a good, solid building. And last on my report, I've got some information on disaster relief. I will say, overall in the city of Normandy, we came out really well. There were unfortunately a handful of people, the people that got hurt bad. So for anybody that needs relief, there's a multi-agency resource center, and there's gonna be a couple of these that'll be available to the citizens of Normandy and the surrounding region. Tomorrow, August 3 o'clock to 8 o'clock, John F. Kennedy Community Center in Florissant. There'll be, again, this is multi-agency resource. There'll be all kinds of opportunities for assistance if you find yourself in need. August 4th, Centennial Commons in University City on Thursday. The same program, different location, 3 o'clock to 8 o'clock. If anybody needs this repeated or wants to talk to me after the meeting, there is help available for those who find themselves needing it. That's all that I have.
Is that gonna be on the website, or?
Is it already on the website? Yeah, it's there already. Thank you.
Oh, are we dumpsters? Are we not?
Oh, thank you. I will say, I arranged to have dumpsters at Hosell Park and at City Hall on Saturday and Sunday of this weekend. I didn't want to announce it too early because I want it for the citizens of Normandy. So I've been promised those dumpsters. I will continue to follow up through the week to make sure they actually arrive. Obviously, we've had some service issues with Waste Management, but they did offer them for no fee. So, of course, we're gonna take advantage of that. So this Saturday and Sunday, there should be a 20-yard dumpster here at City Hall, a 20-yard dumpster at Hosell Park. And if anybody doesn't have a truck, give a call to City Hall. We'll see if we can find you some help. All right.
That's for bulk.
Yeah, that's for bulk pickup and wet carpets and wet furniture and everything that might have been destroyed with this flood that we had to deal with. Council members, let's just go down the line. Yolanda, do you have anything for us?
I wanted to thank Public Works. The lights are on. They did a great job of fixing. It took them 2 days to fix the lights. But we didn't have to buy new lights, and everybody on the street is very excited about the lights. I got a lot of phone calls about the lights. Also, there is a informational meeting for low-income renters. If you need, help with utilities or rental assistance, Missouri Department of Social Services is giving a Zoom, I believe on the 17th and the 18th, where they will actually talk to you about like how to fill out paperwork. And this is so you can get assistance with Ameren UE, like with the Clean Slate program that pays your bills if you meet a certain income requirement. And I emailed it to you, Sam, to see if you could put it on the website and everything. But I think it's going to be, if you are someone who meets the income requirements, it's a Zoom and it's good information and everything, or pass it along.
Thank you. Councilwoman Russell, any report?
There was a lot of flooding on Normandy Place, and in giving this information now, it's sort of like a week late. And so how do we get this out to people that might need this information?
This is on the website, and the people have been calling City Hall.
Have they been
anyhow.
calling City Hall?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so I'm gonna go into the parks, that's the only for Ward 4, but then I've got a Parks Board report. So as of now, so at the last meeting, which was July 19th, we invited, the previous meeting, we had a meeting with Pasadena Hills, and at the next meeting, which is August 16th, Pasadena Hills is coming, and we're continuing to move forward with the First Responders Park. But tonight, there's going to be, we're going to be asking, or the board, Parks Board members, to purchase a screen for $275 for the movie nights that will be starting in September or October. And then we also need the approval of the grant to be turned in. And so at the last meeting, and this needs to be in the next, this meeting's minutes, the movie nights from August to late September, October, because it's darker then, members researching large garbage containers to use at Hosel Park and putting stenciling on them for the ownership of the city to be very clear. Someone else is investigating the fence for the tennis court. Someone's investigating a walking path at Hosel Park. Someone's investigating replacing the broken playground equipment at Hosel Park. Someone is investigating the condition of exercise stations. And they asked if the city council would consider putting, when you do the order for cameras, could Hosel Park be a part of that order once cameras are decided upon? In the grant, this is what the grant is including, is it's to the amount of $39,000, and it's equipment set, supply nets, posts, sleeves, net, center anchor, and center strap, power washing thoroughly, the heavy dirt and debris from the court surface, crack filling maintenance, fills cracks for tennis court patching, court resurfacing, clean and prepare surface for patching or recoloring, apply 2 coats of resurfacer, apply 2 coats of textured coating, lay out tape and stripe court lines per ASBA standards, pickleball striping on tennis court, lay out and install pickleball lines on existing court, basketball striping and basketball goals. So that's a part of this grant that the board is asking you, as a city council, asking us to approve turning in this grant. And I must say, Elizabeth has done so much work on this, so has Pat. They're working really hard, the board members, in moving forward with all our parks. This is just the beginning. There's a lot of other things kind of listed of things to do. So it's really hopeful, and thank you so much, board members, for doing so much that you are doing.
I'd just like to say, we've had some, I guess, theft, break-ins and cars, and even on my street, I kind of hit home. Not me personally, but some of my neighbors got their cars broken into and a couple of doors jimmy. So I guess that problem is nationwide at this point. So I just want to say be careful, lock your cars, look out, before you go to bed, look out, double check, your doors and stuff, because we got some guys and girls, whatever, we got some people out there that are casing and watching, and off the middle road, we got a lot of cul-de-sacs over there, so people can come in, do their damage and run through this, and come out on another street. Of course, our Assistant Chief Sanders knows, he knows what's going on, so hopefully we'll catch some of them. Thank you.
Any report, Councilman Hahn?
Just reports and concerns from Ward 3 residents about speeding, most notably on Florissant Road and Bermuda, of course. I myself, having the privilege and ability of working from home, being able to see right out onto Florissant Road that there is more than a few who are in excess of 50 miles an hour, some in excess of 60 miles an hour, at a conservative guess, on a state highway that should also be monitored and maintained by St. Louis County and by Missouri Highway Patrol. I did have one resident request if there is any assistance that can be provided by the state or by the county. I don't have a particular answer for that yet. I did want to thank our Public Works Department as a whole, as well as Mr. Harris for his leadership. We've had a lot of concerns from residents, and they have been addressed. Thank you very much for that. Beyond that,
Thank you, appreciate that. Tony?
I have a report. Highway 70, Bermuda Road and Stanwood, it seems like every sign is down and the guardrail. It's like the east-west sign is knocked down, the guardrail is knocked down. It's on the side of the house, he took that all the way out.
And that's on me, that state was advised, they're aware, but I need to follow up on
Yeah.
that. Thank you. Yeah, that's a mess.
Yeah.
They're mowing around it.
Exactly.
Thank you, I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
it's a big mess where the grass is kind of like,
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
not going too
yeah,
close.
yeah,
to
I don't
the
get
guardrail,
it.
so.
So,
That's all I had.
thank you, sir. Steve? No report? Karen?
A report, there's a back to school giveaway on Saturday. I know there's gonna be a dumpster there. Can we delay that? I guess we can't delay the dumpster.
Where is this gonna be?
At Hosea Park,
I was not aware when I called them, I apologize for that.
yeah.
Who's putting that on?
It's Major Fay also, but Emmanuel Missionary Baptist Church is sponsoring that.
Well, that's grand, I think, I think it's probably better that we don't have a dumpster there, but the one at City Hall.
Yeah, well,
Can you move it to Public Works?
yeah, we could do that.
That's the yard in front of Public Works, not down in Public Works,
Yes.
but
Right in
that
front.
vacant grassy area. Grand, we'll do that.
Thank you.
And so I'll amend my previous report that that dumpster will be at Public Works and the City Hall.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. Yeah, that's good, thank you.
Hey, Mayor, may I have say one other thing?
Sure, go ahead.
I did get a call from the superintendent of Glen Echo. I know they're not in our, here. They're gonna be having a golf tournament September 8th and 9th, Ascensions, I think it is. And then Thursday, Friday, then they're going to go and play at Norwood Hills. So we're gonna probably have almost maybe several hundred people coming into our neighborhood. And they're gonna be coming down Natural Bridge to St. Mary's Lane, and we've gotta get that sign up that we have. I spoke to Sam about that, and we gotta get that sign up there, and they were hoping that we can maybe get the fountain up. I know we close it in October, I think, but they were hoping that we can possibly get that fountain going and kind of beautify that circle, because a lot of people are gonna be coming. News, a lot of people are gonna be coming through there going to Glen Echo Country Club. And that's the only way to get in, because they don't come in from Lucas and Hunt because the golf course is there. So this is a special event, September 8th and 9th. It's gonna be big for our city. So we need to kind of do some extra work if possible and get the circle. I understand. I understand Ms. Gannon had spoke about it a month ago about the businesses wanting to have that fountain on. And I heard from a lot of my residents have called constantly about the fountain. So if it's something we can do, we might need to try to do it in a hurry, especially with our sign at St. Mary's.
What sign are you talking about?
St. Mary's Lane sign right there.
Oh, the street sign.
The street sign, it's not there. I understand we have it.
Yeah, we'll get it up before September. We're working on it.
Okay, it'd be nice to get it up, yeah, as soon as
Yeah.
possible.
And the dates were September 8th and 9th?
8th and 9th.
Thank you.
If you look up Ascension Charity Classic, you'll get the information on that.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
So,
All right,
that's very important for our
thank
city.
you.
Thanks.
Councilwoman Smith.
Does she have anything?
Councilwoman Smith, I'm sorry, I'm going around the table and I didn't ask you if you had a report.
Oh, no, you're fine. Tony already spoke on it regarding
Thank you.
the railings.
Yeah. Captain Sanders.
Alrighty. So in reference to the railing at Bermuda and 70, we did take a report for a recovered stolen auto. There was actually an accident there. It's still under investigation. So that's why the guardrail was down. It was a wrecked stolen auto that we recovered. In reference to Councilman Nelson's report regarding the tournament that's coming in town, I think we might also want to reach out to the owners of Value Village and have them do something regarding all those broken out windows and all that gang tagging on that building. If that's the only way that's going to go into the golf tournament, I think we might want to address that issue too, because
Yes,
it is
you
a
did
nice
speak
one.
about that too. Thanks, Sanders.
I'm just thinking on the same page that you're thinking along. Regarding the crime trends and things, the report for tonight spans from Friday, July 1st to yesterday, Monday, August 1st. Under report synopsis, you guys see that I said there's nothing notable to report. It's crime as usual. Nothing extraordinary that stood out that was worth mentioning tonight. Crime trends, Normandy Police Department is still dealing with the rash of car thefts and recovered stolen automobiles that we're getting in our city as a nationwide trend regarding thefts and crimes involving Kia and Hyundai vehicles rages on. And additional news, the Normandy Police Department just completed a round of promotional examinations wherein we promoted 3 additional sergeants and 2 corporals. This was desperately needed to get our department back to just good standing, good functioning for accreditation purposes and efficacy for operation of our patrol division. So I'm pleased to report that that is completed, and we will have those members of the police department here next month with all their bling dazzle and all their good stuff to present to you guys.
Nice.
This is exciting because our patrol division is finally at capacity for the first time in several years, so.
We got 26 officers?
We have a full entire patrol division, 5 officers on every platoon.
Thank you.
1 sergeant, 1 corporal, and 3 policemen. Every platoon, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yes, sir.
Captain, for these promotional examinations, were these done in accordance with personnel standards? I know you really can't comment on.
Actually, she can.
I can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I am super ecstatic to report that this promotional process was handled by the letter according to the general orders of the Normandy Police Department process regarding promotions, to the letter.
Okay.
And the officers were actually super excited to partake in a very impartial and open and equitable promotional process. They were really excited. There was a lot of competition, and when I posted the announcement, I told everyone, if you qualify, I do expect for you to compete. If not for the position, at least for the experience, and we had great turnout. So pleased with the results of that. There were 736 calls for service in the past month, and when we say 736 calls for service, I just want to specify that that's for Normandy proper. That does not include any city that we provide contractor patrol services for. On average, our calls for service are spanning close to about 1,700 to 1,800 calls a month. So we're getting a lot of police calls for service. Summonses and tickets, there were 83 summonses and tickets written in the city of Normandy, and there were 94 police reports generated. That is all I have this evening, unless anyone has specific questions for me. Yes, sir.
We always hear about the Hyundais and Kias being, it's a nationwide problem, but nobody ever says, do they ever catch any of these young people or old people, whoever they might be? Do they ever arrest any of these people? It just seems like they're continually doing it, and there's no decline possibly with maybe an arrest or two.
So, I'm sad to report, but Chuck Rosso said earlier that transparency in reporting, whether it's good news or bad news, it's essential. So that way people understand what they're dealing with and how we're trying to combat those things.
Yes.
So for transparency purposes, I don't know if anybody saw a few nights ago, the news posted that rap video where these kids were, the Kia boys are stealing vehicles locally, and they're actually bragging about it. They made a
Yes.
music video, there were lots of guns in that video, these are young kids. Normandy Police Department has recovered several stolen autos, and several times the vehicles have been occupied. Normandy, the majority of the time experiences these vehicles are occupied by juveniles. Taking them into custody and taking them down to juvenile is disheartening when the juvenile walks out the door before the police officer finishes their paperwork.
Yes.
So that's the sad part. So yes, we are catching people, and I think one of my officers articulated that we caught someone and took them to juvenile, and juvenile said that's the 26th time they've caught them in a stolen auto this year. That juvenile was released to their parent. So this is the system that we're combating. We can do the work on our end, but it's up to the criminal justice system beyond us.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah, you hear them
Thank
bragging
you.
about having a new car every week.
And they do, and they're posting
They sell
videos.
a car every week.
The best advice I can give regarding that is I know that Hyundai and Kia made an announcement. It's actually Hyundai Motors Corporation, they are Kia. They made an announcement they're going forward, they placed a chip in all of the key fobs for 2022 model years and newer. So after this year, they finally equipped their key fobs with the technology where if the key isn't present, the vehicle should not start. Sadly,
You don't have.
prior to now, that didn't occur. So they are encouraging people to use the anti-theft devices like Mr. Rosso was explaining to everyone. And while they're not infallible, those things can be broken as well.
Oh, yeah.
Any level of deterrent for a criminal, we absolutely recommend from the police department, and it's not just a Normandy issue, it's a St. Louis County issue. I think the figures that someone gave me the other day was there's about $3 million worth of loss in St. Louis City regarding Hyundai and Kia vehicles. So that's just the city, not county numbers. I'm sure it spans into the multi-millions of dollars.
And that does not include damages incurred to other property.
As a result, no, that's just the
Just
vehicle
singularly.
loss total. Yes, sir. So it's a nationwide issue, and I think it's a bigger issue that Kia and Hyundai need to address.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. All right, moving on. Mr. Chris Harris.
Well, I guess you guys know that we got our bucket truck back. They're down, so that's a plus.
You say it's so kind.
We put a trash can right there at Lucas and Hunt at the Metro bus stop today, so maybe that'll cut down on some of the trash right there at Lucas and Hunt and Natural Bridge.
Metro bus.
It's a bus stop right there, Lucas and Hunt.
The place that the neighbor was suggesting was on Lucas and Hunt, the pole. Today I went by and there was just this trail of litter. People walk down Lucas and Hunt towards St. Charles Rock Road, and things are just thrown. So if that trash can could be right by that pole.
That's where it's at, right by the pole.
Oh, it is? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Are you chaining it so it doesn't go?
We
anywhere?
can't chain anything to the pole.
Oh,
It's not our pole.
we'll just, well, all for the best, Mr. Who's gonna take a garbage can?
But we are stick picking Natural Bridge and Bermuda Road twice a week or as needed. If they ride by and they see it, if I ride by, I'll send the guys up right then and stick pick that, get the trash up, and we're trying to maintain that much better.
It's noticeable, Mr. Harris.
Thanks. We cut back Florissant Road down there by the train trestle as far back as we can, but MoDOT needs to bring their own mower out and, you know, brush hog it back real for us, so we can continue to do it that way.
Do you have the number for citizens to call?
Yes, I can email it to you.
Yes, please.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll email it to you.
I will call every day.
Yeah, email it to me.
Okay, I'll send it out to you guys.
Thank you.
As she said, the lights are on in church right now. We can, whenever they go out, please let me know. We have the light bulbs, we can change them ourselves now. Some of them, the ballast was out in them. He did give me he's giving me a quote on whenever we may think about wanting to change them over to LED, as getting rid of the ballast and, you know, cause sometimes over 3 or 4 years, the ballast will go out and lights kind of like what this one is doing right here, the ballast is going out. That's what makes the light flicker like that. So, LED lasts longer and it's cost efficient, so, but right now, it's not the time to switch them over.
As far as switching them over to LED, is that a standard LED bulb or?
Yes.
It's like up in the concession stand, those lights on the
Yeah.
wall, so that's a standard
It's a
LED.
standard LED, outdoor, light,
Okay,
yeah, and they last longer.
yeah, I was wondering.
Yeah. I also did research for the police chief on the speed bumps. I emailed him and Sam and the mayor some information. The range would be from $300 to $1,000. So it all depends. Yeah, so she had paperwork. It all depends on what you guys are looking for. I think the ones for the concrete streets start at $300 because you have to glue them down, and the ones for the asphalt streets start at $1,000.
Okay.
And that's a piece. Yeah.
And those are not removable.
Yes, you can't remove them.
The asphalt?
Yeah, because can't see that.
They're not the asphalt bumps,
Asphalt.
but they're bumps that go on the asphalt.
Oh, okay, okay, I got you.
So they're right there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good, okay, okay.
So, pass it around.
Yeah,
So it's like that.
yeah, you said asphalt, I was
Yeah,
like, okay.
it's for the asphalt streets.
Okay, you go on top of that.
Yeah, but you can also, if you wanted to have an asphalt company come in and put the asphalt, speed bumps on the asphalt street, they'll last about, I say, 5 to 7 years before they start to wear down just from the cars going over it, but that's another easy way to put speed bumps out there.
And how much are those?
It all depends on how much asphalt they use. It may, depends on how wide the street is, it may be no more than, I'd say about 3 or 4 tons of asphalt, just for them to mold it, so you may be looking at still a couple $100.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cause I'm just looking at the ones over on Brangan, that's been there forever.
Yeah.
They have the best one.
Yeah, and their asphalt, we've been there forever.
Yes, I'm
As
saying
long
you
as I've
can-
been over here.
And then they'll just come back and redo them, or, like I said, it all depends on how long you want.
Package.
Yeah, yeah. So, any questions?
All right.
Anything?
Yeah, I got a couple. Mr. Harris, I don't get a chance to see you, and even, you know, because I know the rules are, I can't really.
I see you though.
Yeah, you see me? Good. So, I want to ask you, the St. Mary sign, do we have that sign?
Yes.
We've got it? Okay, what's the process of getting it up?
I just have to drill out the pins that's in it, and I have to drill out the pins that's on the sign. I'm still trying to figure out how did they take that sign off of there.
You figure out a way.
Yeah. But that's all. It just needs, I need to drill out the pins on the sign. They're rusted real bad, and I have to drill them out and just sit it back up there and put new threads in and everything. That's it.
Yeah, because I just tell you, the superintendent of grounds and medical said he'll help you if you need some help.
I know.
Yeah, I know. I told him that. I said, they'll get it done.
Yeah, I got it. I got it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, no problem.
Good job.
All right.
Thank you.
Hey, one more question before you.
Yes.
Those bushes along the basketball court, Are you guys still trimming those, or do you have the equipment to trim them?
Yes,
Because you trimmed from last year.
our hedge trimmer should be back from Pet Camp. We had to put it in the shop. It was throwing all real bad.
Okay.
Yeah, but once we get it back, yeah, we'll trim it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just mentioned that because of a safety issue, because once they grow
You can't
so
see,
tall, you
yeah.
can't see up there.
Right, yeah.
And if you guys are talking pickleball, we need to keep these things.
Keep them
low.
down. And,
You know,
and now that I got the bucket truck back, we can get some low hanging limbs over the street too.
Right.
All right.
Thank you.
No problem.
Sounds good.
All right.
Report.
City Treasurer, Mr. Ellis.
So how do we go about ordering speed bumps or
Well, let's
deciding?
say the speed bump. We're gonna bring that up at the discussion we have for CDBG. That's where we're gonna fit that in.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Luanda. Just wanted to go ahead and present to you all the 2 months for May and June, at which point we will be officially caught up. So that's a good thing. I can briefly go over May, first of all. Going to Section A, we did go from a net income to a deficit, unfortunately. So the total income as of the end of May was $2.809 million compared to total expenditures of $2.836 million, which brought us at an overall deficit of only $27,000. Section D, we are at, for a summary of the general fund balance, at $474,000. For Section C, we are currently at, again, $2.809 million for May 31st. That brings us at 37.5% of the budget remaining. Again, for comparative purposes, for 8 months of the year, you would want to look at that amount being 33.3% or less if you were in a favorable position. So since it's above that amount, it's slightly less than what we would like at this time. And for Section D, again, total expenditures of $2.836 million. Again, comparing to a 33.3% comparison, you would want those numbers to be more than that amount at this time. So unfortunately, there are only 3 lines that are below that amount of 33.3%, but overall, the expenditures are above that amount, which is great. Any questions or concerns for the month of May? Okay, if none, I'll go to June. We experienced a little bit further increase in the deficit with income as of year to date of $3.108 million compared to total expenditures of $3.316 million, resulting in a deficit of $209,000. The general fund balance in Section B, general fund unrestricted cash balance, $1.143 million. General fund board designated, as of June 30, as of June 30, $768,000. Unearned revenue from ARPA funds, $185,000. Amounts due to general fund from other funds, $286,000. Amounts due from general fund to other funds, $173,000, resulting in an overall general fund balance of $303,000, which is $170,000 less than the previous month in May. For income, again, you have the total income of $3.108 million. The budget remaining is 30.9%. And again, at this point in the year, the comparative percentage would be 25%. So since it is above that, that again is not quite where we want to be income-wise. For expenditures though, the overall expenditures are $3.316 million, but the comparative amount of 27.3 is over the 25% comparative amount, which is favorable for expenditures. Again, the only items we have that are below the 25% amount would be administration, slightly for City Hall, police, and court. Any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Ellis?
Yes, sir.
Do you know what would account for the drastic difference between May and June expenditures? Because that's a big one. I mean, we're talking, $170,000 thereabouts, $180,000 almost.
Right.
Most of it occurred with the police, it appears, because that has about $260,000 alone on that line.
I can answer to some of the trends. So we purchased some police vehicles with
This is when
ARPA
it's
money.
coming
So,
to the.
yeah,
okay.
whenever that's obviously gonna be a big jump.
Sure.
When you do something like that. Also, for the revenues in the June period, without going into too much detail, one of our contract cities payment, we did not get the June payment in June, we got it in July, along with the July payment. Which
What city
we're
was that?
dealing with accordingly, but, so that sets, I don't know if it'd be, we can talk about it
Yeah.
perhaps in closed session,
Yeah.
but, I mean,
Right, okay.
yeah, and so we'll hopefully see that made up in July. And then, which doesn't excuse away all of the trend, it certainly is a trend. As we're getting back up to staff, obviously salaries is another huge increase to expenditures. And so before we were very understaffed and the shortcoming on the revenue side is kind of balanced out by that fact. But as we get more up to staff, we're facing that. And also the repairs are another thing of that nature, which is something we're trying to fix with ARPA funds.
Okay, thank you.
I will note some of the bad news that isn't necessarily stated on here. I mean, the financial report is correct, but we have not realized the loss from the sanitation fund yet. That means the amounts due from general fund, from other funds, sanitation is one of those other funds. And a large amount of that $285,000 is from the sanitation fund. And the bad news is the sanitation fund bank account and the money that's there cannot cover that $200,000. There's probably going to be a shortfall of anywhere from $150,000 to $190,000 depending on what we liquidate. So there still is reserve, but that is some of the bad news with that, and one of the reasons why we got out of trash business. But once we liquidate everything, we'll fully realize that loss on statements.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Ellis. Thanks, Sam.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve the May 2022 and the June 2022 financial report?
Motion.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. All right, next, let's see. Oh, I'm sorry, city administrator.
All
Sam?
right, I'll be very brief here. I did want to mention briefly on the 211 number and the flooding. We are trying to work with St. Louis County Management. If anyone's not familiar with the 211 number through United Way, you can call that and report your damage from your house, or to your house from the flooding, and it will get you on a list that is shared throughout several agencies, including the State Emergency Management. And what they're trying to do is report all the damage and give a cost estimate of that so that we can qualify for a federal emergency. And so we currently have 11 houses that are on that list. If you suffer damage from the flood, it would be good to call 211. You'll get on that list. You'll probably have a few different agencies reach out. Maybe they'll be able to help you, and your damage will count towards getting the federal government to declare an emergency. The other thing that I wanted to talk about real quick, and it'll be a short presentation here, it won't run too long, about our zoning code, because that's one of the things that came up earlier, and we actually had on the agenda tonight to talk about a little bit. Sarah's going to hand out to the council sections of our city code. You can look this up on our website on our e-code, and I'm also sharing it on the Zoom screen here as well. I think we've identified that there are some issues with our zoning codes that need to be updated, as is expected, given that most of the ordinances that consist of the zoning code were passed in the 90s. I mean, they just haven't been updated in a long time. So, kind of, the three problems that we have is that as an administration, as in the past, and I think the council now, there's some confusion or misunderstanding about exactly how the zoning code works. The second problem is we don't really we have the zoning code on our e-code, but we don't have the accessible zoning map on our website, which is something that we need to address. People have to call and ask what something is zoned, and that is a barrier to development. And a third problem is there's things in the zoning code that we should probably address and fix to what we would like to see. Right now, I'll try and kind of give a brief update of what the zoning code is and how it works to help solve that first problem. So, let's see here. Our zoning code is chapter 405 of our city code, zoning regulations. We have 7 different zoning designations. One is Zone A, single-family residential. One is Zone B, single-family, but for larger lots. Another is Zone C, which is two-family residential. Zone D, which is multiple dwelling or multifamily residential, apartments and such. Zone E, which is neighborhood shopping, which I'll get into a little bit more. Zone F, which is the commercial district, which is our commercial zoning. And Zone G, which is our light industrial, which we really don't have too much Zone G in the city of Normandy. I will talk a little bit about zones E and F, because I think single family and residential is pretty straightforward. I don't think we need to go too much into that. Zone E, neighborhood shopping, this is mostly along Florissant Road, north of the roundabout. It tells you what you can build in Zone E. So use regulations. The building or premises shall be used only for the following purposes. And then it lists everything that you're allowed to have in neighborhood shopping. So it is a restrictive zoning code. If you're trying to open a business in neighborhood shopping and it's not on this list, you are not allowed to open a business. Your business license would be denied at that point, right?
This is on South Florissant?
It's throughout the city, but the most concentrated zoning code, across from Wayland's, and where Ed's Trophies used to be, I believe that's zone. Also on Bermuda Road, across from the Burgo Hills neighborhood, is also zone neighborhood shopping.
Where the
I-
last store used to be.
Yeah, the store,
And-
the brick building.
And so interesting, neighborhood shopping is, I assume it's, meant for smaller shops that are kind of supposed to be near residential neighborhoods, as opposed to bigger commercial districts. In that sense, it is more restrictive. You'll see in other parts of the zoning code, it tells you how many parking spots you need to have. And so, to get proper zoning approvals, you have to have the proper amount of parking spaces per square foot of the building. And depending on what use, there's also height regulations and everything, which is more for new building on a empty zone lot or reconstruction. You'll see some contrast to Zone F, which is our commercial district. This is mostly along Natural Bridge, where you'll see on use regulations, a building or premises may be used for any purpose except for the following. So instead of listing exactly what you can have in our commercial zoning, it tells you what you cannot have. So as long as your business on commercial zoning, you want to open a business in commercial zoning, as long as it's not one of these businesses, you can open that business on commercial zoning and your business license would be approved, right? So you'll see here's the list of things that you cannot have. A lot of it is outdated. I don't know if anyone's trying to open a horseshoeing shop on Natural Bridge, but it's on there. And you'll see that there's several exceptions here. Any use regulated by the section 405-790 of the zoning code. 405-790 is our special use permit, which is what we're currently going through with the USDA property. So I think the council is kind of getting familiar with the special use permit process. And you'll see here, restaurants are actually restricted here at the bottom under special use permit. That means that you cannot open a restaurant without a special use permit. That's quite restricted. That might be one of the things that we want to reconsider or something that we want to keep. So it also says anything listed in the special use permit section of the code. And I highlighted on that last packet, I highlighted the uses part. Anything that's listed in the special use part of the code needs a special use permit. So that includes things like a federal facility, which is what we're doing with the USDA right now, right? Churches, things of that nature. And then it says in certain districts, so in zone E and F, if you're trying to open a tavern, a bar, or a restaurant, you need a special use permit. And to follow up, the process for a special use permit is you make an application to the city clerk. They receive the application, we schedule a planning and zoning commission hearing. They hear, they either vote to recommend approval or vote to recommend denial. And then public hearing date is set with the city council, which is August 11th for the USDA. And then the council votes to either approve or deny the special use permit. So as far as what we control, the way that the zoning code is currently constructed, and there's different ways to construct zoning codes. Anything that's in our special use permit code or listed in zone F as restricted has to go through planning and zoning approval and board approval. So there is a lot of control there on what goes in on Natural Bridge and what it looks like. And so I think an important first step into kind of fixing the problems and concerns that we've had with zoning is to work with what we got and following it to the letter of the law. I think the next step would to be amending it to better fit our need. I mean, do we need to ask ourselves, what needs to be on the restricted list, what doesn't need to be on the restricted list? Having a special use permit, this is actually a fairly restrictive zoning code. It requires a special use permit for a lot of different things, which is not necessarily a problem, but just something to consider. I know that was a lot, and we do have other business, but I'm open to any questions about how this works. I just want to give this information that way as we address this. I think we're going to look to start addressing some of this stuff later on in the year once we get through budget workshops and all that, make sure that we have a bit of a ground to start from.
Right.
So as far as what designations are prohibited, is there a historical reason for these prohibitions? Because it does seem a bit antiquated. Is it a matter of public health? Is it a matter of noise ordinance?
I did not pull the specific ordinance. It's whatever the city council in 1993 thought should be restricted.
Okay.
So.
But when you think about Natural Bridge, there's not a lot of parking. It butts up to a residential area. And so you get a lot of the noise from Natural Bridge in a residential, and that's the only area that's kind of like.
Well, and I would suggest to that point, sections of Natural Bridge, identify them, and if there's things that we as a council say, we don't
No, I'm
want this.
saying when he was.
Oh, yeah.
Like, why is
Yeah.
it like that?
Yeah.
Because
That's
there isn't a lot of, there's not a lot you could really put there, like, to have, like, certain night lighting for certain, like, even daytime things, you know, because you don't have a space for it, you know?
Sure. Okay. All right. Thank you, Sam.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anybody else? All right. All right. Good information. Moving on. Old business, Council Bill 22-17. Now, we had our first reading of 2217 at our last regular meeting with the intention of addressing this issue on the budget workshop, which made the agenda, but we simply ran out of time. So regarding this bill, we may not have any consensus on what we want to do with this yet, so we can proceed two ways. We can proceed to postpone the second reading, and if that motion is made and seconded, that will open us up to the same debate we would have as if we made a motion to approve the ordinance. Okay, we could have a motion to approve in a second, and that'll open us up to the same conversation. And we, like I say, may or may not have any consensus yet because we haven't had an opportunity to talk about, we were presented with options, but we haven't had a chance to talk about what is it we want to do here. So for those of you in the audience, we've got a what was initially a $930,000 debt on the building next door. I think it's $887, I think is where we're at now. But state law prohibits us from carrying debt through a fiscal year. This wasn't something any of us here were a part of. I mean, this is the hand we were dealt, and this is the hand we have to play. So what do we want to do about this? There was the concern that, hey, it might be nice to have a little bit in reserve, so if we do have some kind of catastrophic emergency, we're not going to the bank and what would we do with it? We have to have some reserve in case of emergency. With that said, it's not a real great idea to consider this a reserve because there's a deed of trust against that loan, which includes this property right here and the property across the street. So I just want to go down the line and like I say, the options were pay it off, use the entire fund to pay it off, pay a portion of it, or take no action at all until after our budget year, which I just want to get everybody's take on what to do about this $887,000 that we still owe and the $700,000 we've got in the restricted fund that could go toward that debt. So let's start at this end this time. Councilman Cleveland?
So the debt is $887,000?
I think we paid it down to that much, yes. It was
Approximately, yeah.
initially 930,
Yeah.
and I'm going off memory and looking at a bank statement, but we're in that neighborhood, yes.
So we have $700,000 we can,
Right, well, we're gonna be about $180,000 in the deficit. There'll still be a loan balance of $180,000 if we paid the entire amount that's in that restricted fund toward this debt obligation.
can I ask what the interest rate is?
I don't know the
I
answer to
think
that.
it's
4%.
Yeah, 4+%, yeah.
I know the interest rate, I know that the interest on the monthly loan payment is in the neighborhood of $3,900 a month.
Ooh. And that's
Yeah,
interesting.
the way the loan structures, our monthly payments are not very high, so it's mostly interest, which is standard for loans.
So what is the monthly payment?
5,500.
5,500?
A month? I'd rather not deplete our funds. Maybe pay a portion of it. We need to have some money reserved, just in case something does happen. How much should we use of the $700,000? Maybe half of it to do that. I don't know if that's gonna be enough for reserve funds if anything were to happen, but normally we need some money. But I can't, not to use all of it.
Okay.
No, I guess.
And I'll note that the first reading of this bill was to basically wipe out that bank account. This has now been amended for the second reading to be 450,000, which would leave about 250,000 in the cell tower fund, restricted by ordinance. And that was done because that was expressed after the first reading, so.
Steve?
Yeah, I just look at these numbers and I shake my head, but I would never take everything and pay it off, pay it in. I think 450,000 is a fair amount, but I look at this with the things we need to do here, potentially to get on our feet. I think 450 is fair, but we're gonna have some reserve minimum. And I know it's not a good thing to call it a reserve, I get that. But right now, that's the way we're playing it. So yeah, I think 450, would that save a certain amount of interest? Is that why that number came up, like, what is, because I know we're paying 4+%.
It would certainly save interest, I mean, anytime you pay down the principal.
Because at 3,900 a month, that's quite a bit of interest to me.
Yeah, and that's not how I arrived at that. I took that number off of Mayor Beckman's suggestion of not do it all, leave
Yeah, we need
200,
to-
250,000, so.
Yeah, I think 250 is fair, but that would save quite a bit of that. I think that would lower it quite a bit if you made that much of a payment. But I don't want to put it all in, no way.
Yeah, I agree also, but, you stated that we couldn't carry debt into the next fiscal year.
Well-
Could you?
State law, I'll let Mr. Brayman address
Yeah,
that, but state
yeah.
law doesn't allow a city to carry debt beyond its capacity to pay it off in a fiscal year, is my understanding.
So there is that's essentially it. So there's a section of the Missouri Constitution which, and I've got the language, basically that no local government can become indebted in an amount exceeding any given year's income and revenue for such year, plus any unencumbered balances from the previous year. So basically, right, in layman's terms, you have to be able to pay off that debt
Yeah,
with
going
the
into the
cash you
next
have on
fiscal
hand.
year, yeah.
Now, that only applies to debts that aren't approved by a vote, a public
Okay.
vote, right? So debt incurred through the issuance of bonds and things like that we're not talking about that here. We're just talking about the debts that the city enters into on its own, under its own powers.
Okay.
And as far as getting under that number, or I don't know if it's realistic that we're going to be able to do that in the fiscal year. We're just trying to do the best we can, I guess, is kind of with what we got.
Closer is better than further away.
Yeah,
Next question, what's the life of the loan?
I believe it is 5 years with the
Yeah,
lump
I thought it was a
sum payment.
6-year, but it's a balloon. At the end of its
See,
limited
and-
term, it has to be paid out.
Yeah, see, that was my next.
That's the other
Look into it. If it's a balloon, what are we gonna do 3 or 4 years from now?
Hopefully we'll be in better.
Right, I think the current idea is to sell some of the commercial properties, including the Sinclair Station and this, to help cover the full amount and get the building paid
Yeah,
off.
see, that's what concerns me. Within the next 3 to 4 years, we're gonna be like, okay, we got to pay this off. Yes.
Well, this was written at my recommendation, but I will tell you, I have a change of heart because of a concern I now have. The building report from Gemma, that we need a new roof across the street.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, we want to move across the street, and we're going to have to make repairs, and that's going to be funded with a bond issue. But if we need a new roof, we might need it sooner rather than later to keep that building across the street from deteriorating any further. So I haven't even talked to Sam about that issue, but I just looked at that inspection
I
report.
was just looking at that.
And it's another, something that we need to talk about. How are we gonna do that? Rather than let that roof sit in its present condition and leak and cause potential mold issues and additional damage to the building that we eventually want to fix up for the city hall.
Right.
So I do have some concerns
Yeah,
about
me
that
too.
and
I
how
would
to
like
address
to-
it. So anyway, I'll move on down the line.
Mr. I'd like to talk about this on it a little bit.
Having
Because
mortgage,
we got a lot, that balloon thing really scares me.
Yeah, it does. Me too.
Go ahead.
Thanks.
It would behoove us to pay down the principal so that our monthly payments can chip away even more effectively at the principal each month for the next, 2.5 years. That also would allow us time to build our reserve, our cash reserves, for instance, however that may be, however that may look. But again, barring anything catastrophic happening to Normandy as a municipal government, I think I'd be comfortable with around 250,000 in cash reserves from this fund. So I would not go anything beyond that though, because I don't think $250,000 is a lot for our city to have in reserve as is. So we've seen some of the really time-sensitive crises that can rise for us as a small city. So if we were to do this, I would recommend also, go ahead and pull the trigger and do it so that if we do this, we make it that much more effective for the purpose of paying down that principal.
What did you mean, like, do it sooner than later, David?
Just because the sooner you
The principal?
actually pay $450,000 towards what we owe, that's less each month. And again, that's more that we're paying off on the front end. It's a sliding
You
scale.
mean 250,000? You said, you
No, ma'am,
start,
450,000.
Oh,
We're paying 450,000 off of
you mentioned 250,000.
in reserve, yes.
Take 250,000 and put it to us instead of.
Right, that's enough.
Regardless of state law and that amount considerations, at the end of 6 years, everything's due, right?
Everything.
So if we do the lump sum now as opposed to later, we'll save on interest in the long run. I think that's what it's trying to get.
I agree with Councilman Hall. We sold those towers for $760,000 a year or so, a couple years ago. And we've been chipping at that cell tower unrestricted money for some time, amending budgets here and there. So you know, we need to make a move. 5 years will go fast, but we need to get our principals down, money into the principal, get our payments down, and go forward. And we have a little reserve. Now, we're not in the business of making money. City Hall is not in the business of making money. So, and I think Tony can contest to this. I don't think we've ever, another question, Andy. What is the penalty? What is the penalty for us, for our city to be, like you say, you know, what is our penalty?
So, and I'd have to review my legal opinion on this matter before I start speaking out of turn. There is, well, no, that's not. I would want to look into that issue a little further
Yeah,
before
please,
I speak out of turn.
because balancing the budget, I think we balanced our budget once in 5-6 years, that I can recall. So, we're not in the business of making money. We're in the business of surviving and servicing our citizens. You know, so we need to use the money that we have before it's all gone to go after our big picture that we have over here. And go into the principal, like Mr. Holmes said, and get our payments down. And then 3 years from now, 2 years from now, maybe we get a windfall or something. We get some money and we can pay it off. But the penalty, that's what we need to know. And I don't think it's a major penalty.
And if I may, just for everyone's benefit, if anyone is interested in finding out for themselves, you can make those calculations in how much we would save if we were to pay off, for instance, with $450,000 off the principal. It's called an amortization schedule. Enter basic information. We can provide that information to the public for their benefit and for their ease of mind as well. So,
Thank you. Councilwoman Rosso.
You had mentioned it, the building across the street needs the roof. So how does that adjust how we use the cell tower monies then? You said you were concerned that.
I do have a concern that if we need a roof, where's the money gonna come from for a new roof? Prior to us selling municipal bonds to go after our big picture project, after plans are in place, and of course, a muni bond goes to an election, that takes time. If this needs a new roof, I don't think it needs it tomorrow, but I would hate for it to go through another winter needing a new roof. So I do have concerns about that.
So then what amount of money would you suggest we use to pay towards the mortgage?
I would almost want to get an estimate on the roof before I make the calculation.
Yeah, we have allocated some of these exact same funds for building maintenance over there, so it's.
Yeah, 15,000, but I don't think 15,000 is going to touch a new roof on that building.
No, probably not a new roof, but.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm just saying, we were presented with a problem that we were unaware of, and now we're aware of it. So I'm just leaving it out there.
So
What do we want to do about
For
that?
that estimate, and then Andy gets the amount of penalty, and we come back and talk about that.
And that's certainly an option that we have, is to make a motion to table this issue to our next regular meeting, and we may address it then. If we have enough information, we may table it again. To Sam's point, regardless of the penalty, I need to give a date too as to when this is actually due. This note's been out there a while, and it was a 5 or 6 year balloon, which means that date comes, it's due. So,
It's been 2 years.
yeah. So we have at a minimum 3 years left on this note, that we know that date's coming. So, I mean, hopefully, we're gonna have our plan in place and the municipal bond issue sold by that time and be on our way to some real progress. But what to do right now to save almost $4,000 a month in interest and address our concern about the roof that needs to be put on. We gotta do a balancing act here.
That would pay the roof if we save that interest. over a
Probably would, but it's not cash in hand. We need the roof in the very near future. Talking, you know, a couple, 3 or 4 months. I don't want to go into winter if we need a roof.
Yeah.
So, at any rate, so we have to come up with that number. And I just want to hear from everybody as to where we go with this. Yep, I will, thank you.
I'm still at the same. I think we need to first take it to a workshop, like we talked about at the last meeting. I don't think this is, I think we need to figure out like what the goal is. Is the goal to like not be in trouble, or is the goal to like pay down the mortgage because we can't afford it, it's too much? And if it's not too much, then let's just continue to pay it the way that we have, because in my opinion, something else is gonna come up, like Sam just said. We're already $250,000 short because we don't have revenue from sanitation. I think like, and then I also feel like we're kind of jumping the gun with thinking that, I don't want to say, but that it's like it's just gonna pass. Like the people are gonna be like, yeah, take my tax dollars. Like it's so much that we have to figure out. You know what I'm saying? It's
right.
We still have to take it to the people who are voting to be like, we need this money. So for us to be like, we're gonna move over there, I don't think we should speak of it like that, because we don't, just like, like we don't want to speak of it as a reserve. You know
I
what I mean?
agree, but whether we move over there
But
or
we need
don't
to-
move over
yeah.
there,
We got a bill.
we got a building that needs a roof or
I
it's
know,
gonna
but
go
I
into
think
disrepair.
we need to figure out what is the goal and then move accordingly, instead of, let's just do this and then, you know, like, there needs to be a plan, and there needs to be a plan of action, and there needs to be a solid, like, we're doing this because of this, like, we all agree that this is the most important thing, and then we follow that plan. But that's what I'm saying. I think it should go to a workshop.
Councilwoman Smith?
I agree with really everyone's ideas. I think bottom line is it should be used where the priority is. Yes, the money is there. However, it was placed on reserve for a particular reason, to be able to eventually pay off the building across the street once we had sold the Sinclair gas station. However, I think it just should be used wherever the priority is. And I don't think we're going to come to a conclusion tonight. As Councilwoman Russo them mentioned, I think, you know, a workshop will be good to discuss further.
All right, it sounds,
Yes.
you know, I'm looking for a motion, and I think from what I'm hearing, it's probably gonna be a table this issue for a future consideration.
Agreed.
If someone would be.
I'll make a motion to table.
I'll second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. All right, let me find my glasses so I can find the next item again. Our agenda item. First reading, Council Bill 22-18, an ordinance of the City of Missouri changing the schedule for regular city council meeting dates. The consideration, the suggestion is being made to move our meeting dates from the first Tuesday of the month to the second Tuesday of the month. We avoid a lot of holidays that way. We avoid election day that way. Everybody seemed to be in agreement on this. And is everybody satisfied with the way this ordinance is written? Do you have any concerns?
Does this conflict with any other uses for this space with any other municipality or contractual court agreements that we have?
Not
I'm not aware of any, no, and I think the only, yeah.
Okay, that's all.
But in the council bill, it doesn't say move from first Tuesday to second Tuesday. Does it need to be?
Yeah, item A said regular meetings of the city council of Normandy shall be held on the second Tuesday of each month.
Yeah, this ordinance completely repeals everything
Page 15.
that we've set to this point, and the new rules will be, is what's written under section 4.
All right, so what will appear at next month's regular meeting is this bill as written. Moving on. Bear with me a minute. Item B, resolution, a resolution adopting a mission statement for the city of Normandy. Let me find our mission statement. Page 17. I'm going to go ahead and read the resolution in this case, or at least read our mission statement. A resolution of the city of Normandy, Missouri adopting a vision statement, mission statement, and a set of values for the city. And this vision is what the council has determined is our vision, mission, and values for this body. The city of Normandy, our vision for the city of Normandy will be a safe, family-friendly community that is the historic heart of North St. Louis County with a business corridor that attracts visitors from the entire region. Our mission, the mission of the city of Normandy, is to provide a high level of public service and to grow the community through transparent, accountable, and professional governance. Our values are professionalism, integrity, and transparency. Our value statement, we uphold our values by being an example of effective municipal government through building a professional team of city officials and staff dedicated to serving the residents of Normandy with integrity and transparency. And I will add that every decision we make as a body should reflect this vision and these values. Do I have a motion to approve a resolution adopting a mission statement for the city of Normandy?
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Item number C. A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agency agreement with Reed Realtors. I did not know Alonzo Reed. I just went down and introduced myself to him. He's a local realtor here in the city of Normandy, located right at the circle here. And he was willing to, very happy to help us sell some of these residential properties that we have in the city. And we're happy to bring him on board. I would like to go with local services if we can do so. A resolution of the city of Normandy, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to enter into an agency agreement with Reed Realtors. And I want to make sure, I want to point out that this resolution, the mayor and city administrator are hereby authorized to negotiate and execute any contract for the sale of properties that a broker might facilitate if such a sale is in their judgment in the interest of the city of Normandy. So that gives the city administrator and the mayor, only on these residential properties, not on commercial property, the authority to negotiate and enter into agreement. And the purpose of that is that if we get an offer, we can move on it. We don't have to wait till the next city council meeting for approval. So with this resolution, you're giving approval for us to go ahead and engage in negotiations and execute a sale agreement on these residential properties.
Is the commission a regular percentage?
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
Is the commission a percentage of the sale?
It is. It is.
Does that
So,
be in the contract?
well, if it's over 7%, I simply won't engage in it. Correct, yeah.
No, I'm saying, is it gonna be, because it's not on here?
It's not on here,
Yeah.
but when we enter into an agency agreement with a broker, those terms are spelled out, yes. Do I have a motion to approve a resolution of the city of Normandy, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to enter into an agency agreement with Reed Realtors?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I have a question for Mr. Brayman. I don't know if within your services, to the city of Normandy if you are experienced enough with real estate law to be the one to broker sales instead of I'm not trying to take away from Mr. Reed, but for the city's interest, are you able to, with your legal services, draw up the contracts for the sales of these properties?
So, I mean, yes, I do practice real estate law, and I have experience with real estate transactions. However, generally, I mean, there are boilerplate forms that are used for a lot of real estate transactions, and it would be much more cost effective to utilize those forms. I think, are you talking about using me instead of a realtor in general, or?
Not outright, no. I'm trying to phrase this very carefully.
I don't think it would be cost effective to do
Okay,
that.
that's fine. Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else? I'm sorry, I lost track. Did we have a motion in a second already?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. All right, item D. A resolution of the City of Normandy, Missouri adopting and supporting the Park Advisory Board's application to the Municipal Park Grant Program. This is the grant that Councilwoman Rosso described in detail that they would like approval on. They're advising and they're doing the work to make an application to the Municipal Park Grant Commission for a $39,000 grant to make those repairs that you described at Roselle Park, resurfacing.
Pickleball, right?
It's tennis, pickleball, it's strike for pickleball, and just the general improvements that were described. Yeah, new basketball hoops.
Yeah.
So, do I have a motion to approve a resolution of the City of Normandy to adopt the Municipal Park Grant application? We have a motion, do I have a second? Any comment?
Yeah, one comment.
Yes.
So no one can teach tennis down there but me, right? I'm only kidding.
Go for it, Rick.
All right.
I'd like to thank the Parks Board and all their members for all their work. Councilwoman Rosso for heading it.
You all headed it.
I'm sorry? No, not at all.
Good job.
All right, not at all, thank you.
That's all.
Anthony,
So, and I thank you so much. They're really on it, and they're working their tails off. We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you again. All right, a resolution authorizing the city administrator to enter into an agreement with Sikich LLP for accounting services.
Michelle Grant. No, it's
I'll wait for comments for this. Do I have a motion to approve a resolution of the City of Normandy, Missouri authorizing the city administrator to enter into an agreement with Sikich LLP for accounting services for the fiscal year 2022 and future fiscal years? Sikich, for your information, is Angela Green. Angela Dorn. My apologies. Angela Dorn. She has been working for the city for 12 years now without an agreement. And her company wants a written agreement to execute the services that she's been executing for 12 years. And that's what precipitated this. So is there a motion to approve?
Make the motion.
I have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Is she at
Yes,
the
sir.
same, is she at the same rate that she was?
You know what, did we get an answer from her on,
She gave me some information about what their rates are. They range from $120 to $200 an hour. But she would be doing the same work she's doing now, and she would not, from my understanding, be billing us any differently than she is now.
I thought she was $250 an hour.
She can be, she tells us, and I do believe her for the amount of work that she has done for us in the past, particularly about a year ago from now, that she does discount the rates considerably.
So she's our CPR, right? CPA?
Well, the city doesn't necessarily need a CPA, but she is a CPA, and she performs crucial accounting functions of the city.
I understand she's been our CPA since 2009, right?
Yes.
So, so this is a contract, because she never did have a contract, right? She was just working when we called her, is that what it was?
Right, I don't know why she didn't have a contract. Her bosses got onto her for not having a contract. It's quite surprising that she worked for us that long without having one. And actually, if we don't get this passed, she's not going to be able to work with us anymore, which would be frankly devastating for us, because she has all the institutional and historical knowledge about the finances for the past.
Exactly, so she's working for less now, is that what you're saying?
She wasn't a year ago because she's doing considerably less work. Now that we have a finance clerk in place, she.
Won't need her more.
And the bills have gone down considerably since last year. And that will be reflected in the budget talks.
Yeah.
We're looking at a huge.
Yeah, I will add, with Sam doing a lot of the finance and budget work, and with Michelle, I'm really up to speed now on QuickBooks, which Angela used to do.
Yeah.
So
We're saving a lot of
She's
money.
now at a point where she does consulting, bank reconciliation, and our end-of-year taxes.
Okay.
So the consulting has gone way down. Before she was cutting every check, she was making every entry, the staff accountants were making every entry.
So she's still going to do our budget?
I'm going to consult with her on certain things, but no, I will be doing the budget.
Okay, gotcha, okay.
Which will be considerable savings.
Okay, good.
All right.
All right, we have a motion. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Why do we have future fiscal years? Why is it so broad?
Because this contract, which has been kind of bouncing around between our old attorney and their attorney, and now that we got Andy, we were able to hammer it out. This contract is actually set to end in September 30, 2022. So if you guys want to give, it's just so we don't have to do this 2 months from now. Again, we can go ahead and do this year and next year.
Why wouldn't you put like 5 years from now and then revisit it, or, I'm just asking, I don't know.
I guess I could have, or maybe should have.
I don't know, it just future years seems.
Well, and if it's council's pleasure to terminate this agreement, we can
Oh, you
just
can?
not.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Also, we can talk.
We don't, this doesn't obligate us to use Sickich. This is an agreement that if we use her services,
Okay, that's good.
she will perform them according to
There's
this
no
contract.
upfront payment with her
Okay, so
services.
it's no retainer? That's what
No
you said.
retainer. Yeah.
Okay.
I get it, thank you.
Anyone? I have a motion, I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. All right. Item F, discussion regarding the speed bumps. This has been a recurring issue that has been raised at several of our council meetings. So now we've got prices. Now how do we make this happen?
Where is it?
I'm suggesting that we've got CDBG money upcoming.
Is it F and E? Okay.
Did I,
No, that's the old.
okay.
Oh, got it, okay, I got the new one.
We've got CDBG hearing on the 11th. We will receive enough money to once again, I'm going to recommend we once again allocate those dollars to tearing down. We've got 5 more buildings to tear down. And it's my position that those buildings are such a blight on our community, they just encourage more of the same. So if we can get 3 more taken down, we'll still have enough money for 10 to 12, is that fair? $12,000 approximately left over for speed bumps. Anybody know what that buys us in number of speed bumps?
He said between
300,000.
How much on it?
$300,000, 300 to.
Oh, if there were $1,000 apiece, we can get a dozen speed bumps.
But he also
And that
said,
would, I'm sorry?
he also said that you could build up the asphalt for a couple hundred and make a.
Well, yeah, worst case scenario, we can get a dozen speed bumps, and I think that addresses every area of concern that has been brought up.
Absolutely.
So if it's the council's pleasure, we come, and we do have to come to that hearing with a recommendation as to what to do with those CDBG dollars. And I'm suggesting we get another 3 houses torn down and buy our speed bumps.
Do we have to say what the speed bumps will be now? Or we just have to
The
say that we're
location,
gonna
I
say-
don't think that we would have to
We just have to say
identify
that
a location.
The intended use.
Yeah.
Not, but I
It's
actually,
not where.
My understanding, yeah, I'll defer to
Oh,
Sam.
We don't have to
Yeah,
have a full plan, just.
no, for the
Okay.
CDBG, yeah,
That's
you
what I
can,
asked.
you can do all sorts of things with that.
I thought it was for
You don't have to be very
sidewalks in Ward
specific.
1 and 2.
Well,
That was
those are
last
funds that have
year.
already been committed. That project is still a go.
Okay.
Well, and since we're discussing it, I have pulled up the map and I can get some sort of idea of what we're looking at here. I know Dartmoor has been mentioned before, Blandford has been mentioned. I know the bumps, I believe it's the bumps on Dartmoor are quite worn. I know
Paddington and Ellington.
Paddington and Ellington are long streets that get.
Bermuda Court is one.
Bermuda Court, and then also in the
Bellwood and Stanwood.
Bellwood and Stanwood. So that's quite a few different places, and
Are those the speed bumps?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we can't put them on the state highway, right?
no, I don't.
I mean like,
Right at the stop.
Bermuda Road and,
Yeah, we cannot.
we can't do that.
Unfortunately, no.
That would be nice.
That would be.
They need them.
And then the ones on Brand are there, and they do work. They actually scrape the bottom of my car. Just low to the ground.
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
Those driveways.
They're the best ones I've seen.
Is everyone satisfied with that recommendation? If we come as a board
Yeah.
with one voice, 3 tear downs and the speed bumps?
Yes.
Okay. Good. Go ahead.
I'm on board.
All right.
Yep. Let's do it.
All right, discussion regarding adopt a lot program.
Yeah, what's that all about?
Well, we've got a lot, we still got some vacant properties, and I would be very much in favor of allowing either neighbor to bid, competitively bid against each other, or if there's no interested parties, letting them adopt that lot for no charge, as long as they're now paying the taxes on it. They assume the cost of clearing up the quiet title, and they maintain the property. How many do we have, Sam?
So we have 4 lots with neighbors. So we own about 8 empty lots that are residential. I'd say 4 of them have neighbors, just on a very quick analysis, that might be interested. And 2 of them, I know have neighbors that are interested. 5313 Olean, I know that we've had a neighbor say that they're interested. That is the house that we just tore down. So there's still straw on that lot. 7648 Stanwood is between 2 houses. I'm not sure, I haven't heard any interest on that, but it's between 2 houses. 5304 Kirkland is actually between someone's house and one of the houses that we're going to sell to Beyond Housing. So we might reach out to Beyond Housing and see if they're interested in side yard, or reach out to the other neighbor. And 5401 Bermuda, which is actually zoned neighborhood shopping. But we have got 2 people on both sides interested. That's kind of what generated this conversation almost a year ago now with the old council. But
So 2 questions, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, on St. Mary's, there's a lot, and I just tried to look it up again. it's between 3632 and 3622, and it's a green space. I believe that 3622 is taking care of it, but they're very difficult to talk with. They don't answer the door, so I don't know.
He can find out real quick if that's ours or not.
Yeah, it says it's ours, well, on the list that I have that's old, it says it was ours.
6330 St. Mary?
60, I think it's 3630, it's between 3632
3630.
and 3622.
Oh, we do own that one.
Ah,
But in the
it's a good
register,
green
there's
space.
a typo, so it didn't pop up in my search.
Well, kind of earmark it for a
So
possible
we'll-
green
We'll add that
space.
to, okay, well, and that's part of the discussion. Do we
Yeah.
want to hang on to these lots, use them as green space?
That's
or
the
do we
only
wanna
one,
Pass them off.
whatever, if there's, I mean, it's just to consider.
Okay, well, I will tell you, there's the big lot at the corner of Augusta and St. Anne that the Parks Board has mentioned interest in developing into a park, so I don't think getting rid of that one.
Sabbath Manor?
Yeah, the old Sabbath Manor. Getting rid of that one right now, I'm not recommending that. There's one at the end of Augusta that we've had one, possibly two public hearings because it does adjoin the property that we now own, but we've already had a public hearing about turning that into parking, and the entire community showed up and said, oh, heck no, we're not making that a parking lot.
Is the
So
neighbor wanting to buy that?
Doug Aiken wants to buy that. Yeah, he's approached me.
Yeah.
So is that one that we want to allow to move? And I think we can have that conversation right now, because we want to know from you guys, how do we move forward with unloading some of these vacant lots? Specifically, I know we have buyers for Bermuda Road. What do you want us to do? I mean, we could start a closed bid process with the two adjoining owners. I'm really not interested in some owner from California buying it.
Exactly.
And then we're mowing again, just like we were before.
Right, right.
I think this needs to be limited to the owners that adjoin those
I
properties.
agree.
So if anybody
Now-
have any,
And the only other thing I would recommend is, I think a sealed bid would be great, that there should be a minimum put on there, so that they
Yes.
can't come back and say $5 and he'll pay $10, and $10 is gonna get it.
yeah,
You know,
and you
there
know
should be
what?
a minimum of something, I don't know what it's worth.
And I don't either, and the reason we didn't have that one appraised, because when we found out what a commercial appraisal costs, it's like, well, maybe we'll just,
I know I'm out of order. Why don't you just have Reed do a market
That's a grand
analysis
idea.
on those
Grand
properties?
idea.
Thank you.
Put the minimum amount on
Minimum,
and.
right.
So-
Minimum,
so,
thank you.
and to me, and to the city, I think they should be worth less than the minimum, because as soon as we get them off our books, we're not mowing them. We're not taking care of them. So the motivation on our part would be make it really attractive for somebody to adopt these lots.
But at
And-
least get the opinion, so you have
Right,
that.
no, I,
feedback.
yeah,
Something
yeah.
to go
So
by.
nobody can say you
Okay.
play the tape.
So what's the process, what approval do we need from the, as an administration, Andy, to move forward? Do we need a resolution, do we need a motion?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
So are they gonna just remain just a vacant lot?
Likely, yes.
Just,
Yeah, well, the other choice is hold on to them and continue to mow them. Here's the problem with new construction. In the neighborhoods that, like Burnell Hills, you can't build new construction. There's a big chance that the cost of construction now, with the supply issues that we have, that when you're done building that house, it's gonna be worth less than what it cost you to build it. There's just investors aren't willing to do that.
Okay, and I'm just gonna say this, because I was on planning and zoning for 20 years, the size of the lots no longer meet our current building code standards.
Yeah.
So you can't even build a house, it doesn't meet code.
okay.
I agree. Thank you.
Mayor, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Is American Water still interested in buying a lot there on Bermuda Road next to Public Works?
I never knew they were interested in buying the lot next to Public
I
Works.
think they, Tony, at one time, weren't they interested in that?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
Well, here's what I can do to proceed. If I don't hear objection, we can move forward with soliciting offers on these, and I'll just bring them to the council meeting for approval. Rather than getting into some convoluted process conversation, we'll move forward.
Yeah, let's do that.
Get opinions from Reed,
Right.
solicit these for bid, and then I'll bring them to the council for approval.
Sounds good, Mayor, let's go. Let's go.
All good?
All good.
Let's move forward. Last item. Oh, good. I forgot that was even on here. I have had several conversations with Vicki Bae from Glen Echo Park. Most of you are aware, back in 2019, the merger with Glen Echo Park went all the way up to the public hearing, and then last minute, the public hearing was canceled for reasons unknown, and the whole issue died. I know that she would like to, I would like to, many of the residents would like to, merge with the village of Glen Echo Park. There's a couple hundred residents there, that increases our population, okay? And what it does for them, it's not viable for them anymore to maintain, obviously, police, we do that for them. And even the day-to-day administration and the government compliance that you have to maintain for a population of 200 just doesn't make sense. So this is something they like to do, even though there is a bit of a sour taste in their mouth over the process as it took place a couple years ago and then it died. But I don't think it'll take much to sell them. Vicki has suggested that I come to the next council meeting next week and assure them of the place we're at now and that we'd like to do this and just have a conversation with their council. And if it's something that this council would like to engage in, the process is pass an ordinance. If the city of Narberth passes an ordinance, city of village of Glen Echo passes an ordinance, it goes to the border commission for approval, public hearing, and ultimately it has to go to, it gets put on a ballot and goes to a vote of the people. So there's an involved process, but this is the start right here to see if this is something that we want to do.
Yes. Yes.
Would it go to vote the same time that we'll have the vote for,
I don't know that, and that's, yeah, I do not know.
I don't know
I mean,
if
we could have this happen as soon as April if we move.
Right, we don't need that.
So,
We still have the police department.
quite frankly, I don't know the answer to that. So if that's something that everybody's in agreement with, that we want to move forward with, I'm gonna go to their meeting and tell them that they have the support of this council to move forward with that merger, because nobody wants to do the work and they get shot down at the last minute.
We still
That
have-
seems like that's what happened last
And
time.
Mayor, don't we have, they have our police service, don't they?
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
What about their trash? They got waste management too?
No, they have a small, no, it's not Republic Health Fleet Management. It's a small service that I've never heard of, and I can't think of their name.
Is Raina still on board with helping with the?
Yes, that's third party, Vicki told me she would still be interested in helping us out. So Raina Spencer from Beyond Housing really took the lead on this back in 19 and did a lot of work to watch it fall apart, so she was real frustrated with it too.
And she's no longer with Beyond Housing, so she would be a third party.
It would be just
Someone
But
else.
with that said, I mean, most of the work is done, from my understanding, we'll have to update some information from the past 2 years. If she would be kind enough to give us her notes, I mean, I'm sure I could work with Raina and we could get it done.
I will also add that we still have a $7,000 bill that we owe the Boundary Commission from when this fell apart last time, so that's hanging out there. All right, I will attend that meeting with the Village of Glen Echo. I've been invited, I'll attend, and I'll tell them that we have the support of the council to move forward with this. All right. Citizens' comments.
Michelle Graham, 3828 Waco Drive. I want to thank you guys for all the great job you're doing, but I wonder if there's a way we could, and I hesitate to even come up here and comment, to extend it, a 3-hour meeting that should take 1 hour. And if you guys would listen to what's being said. There were many times tonight when things were said, and then someone turned around and asked Sam or the lady from Beyond Housing the exact same thing that was just already stated. Please just listen. And can we cut it shorter? 3 hours, it's ridiculous. Please.
Ms. Graham,
Yes.
is that tree removed off your street?
No,
It's still.
it was cut and it's sitting there. But I do appreciate that they're getting rid of that guy that's got the trailer, because that's a death hazard.
Okay.
Someone's gonna die on that street because they're flying up the street
We did cut the tree, we gotta get it.
and that
moved.
guy's got a trailer blocking more than half the road.
Thank you, Michelle. Anyone else?
Elizabeth Hong, 7665 Larson. I just wanted to say kind of on behalf of the Parks and Rec Board on the Adopt a Lot program. One of the goals that Parks and Rec has kind of set forth, our big long-term goal is 1 playground and 1 green space to use as like a meeting space for activities in every single ward. So that would be our long goal. So before I hope that the council moves forward with handing out lots to residents, I would just want you guys to look through and see, could your residents use that as either a playground or a green meeting space?
Good idea.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else? Before we adjourn, I would ask for a motion to go into closed session to discuss a personnel matter.
And can you add a legal matter to that as well?
Thank you. A personnel matter and a legal matter.
I'll make a motion to go into closed door session.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Cleveland? Yes. Councilmember Saxonberg?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith? Councilmember Evans?
Yes.
Councilmember Hong?
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson?
Yes.
Councilmember Rosso? Yes. Councilmember Campbell?
Ayes have it. Thank you. All right, I'll excuse everybody at this time, and we'll just stay here in this.
Lawanda, will you still join us?
No, I'm sorry. I've been up since 6:30 at work. Got off at 6:45. I know I'll shut down you all.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Take care.
Take care, Lamont.
Bye-bye. Thank you all.
With Lawanda being the only one on Zoom,
Good night,
I'm
everybody.
going to hit mute at this time.
I'm gonna end the meeting.
Thank you.